I've got my dodgy hook and my shonky raft, and it's time to free this post-apocalyptic water world from tyranny. I'll also be building a rather gorgeous raft, and murdering several generations of sharks. Welcome to 200 Days of Raft, the movie. On day one, I found myself adrift looking like this. Very handsome indeed. I had a tiny raft, a plastic hook, and an infinite trash-cluttered sea. So I got to collecting.
Give me leaves. What?
As you can see, I was an absolute beast at reeling in rubbish.
Uh-oh, there's a shark. Get out of here, bro.
Charlene the shark was circling ominously, which I didn't appreciate, but I ignored her for now and collected plastic, planks, and big old palm leaves. And even better were the barrels.
All potato beat. Nice.
I then figured out how to open my inventory and crafting menu. I can make a whole bunch of useful stuff in here, and the first thing on the agenda to craft was the building hammer, which lets me expand my raft, adding some more foundations which cost 2 planks and 2 plastic each.
Oh, he's coming for me. He's coming for me.
I don't know why I was calling poor Charlene a he, she's clearly a beautiful woman shark, but either way I scrambled to craft a weapon.
Oi!
I did manage to make a spear for next time Charlene decides to eat my delicious raft. There was a little island here, but I was too scared to risk swimming to it, so I drifted on by. But it was nice to know there is land in this game. It's not going to be all blue.
This is big boy crate.
Whew. I've got a thirst and hunger bar down here, so it seemed wise to work out a plan for water, and so I made a purifier and a cup.
Fill with seawater. Place cup of seawater. Nice.
Another island was coming up ahead, and I was determined to visit this one, so I made myself a paddle. Oh! It scared the crap out of me. I tried to repair the damage to this foundation, but couldn't figure out how, so I gave up and paddled over to the island. I made this throwable anchor, attached it to the raft and chucked it in the water to make sure my raft didn't abandon me, and then made a realization.
Oh, I'm supposed to place planks there.
With planks as fuel, my purifier was now actually purifying, so that was good, and I made myself a simple grill and whacked a potato on to cook as well. My first cup of fresh water was ready in short order, so I gave it a slurp, which quenched some thirst. I made myself a stone axe, ate my first cooked potato, and jumped into the water. I spotted these rocks under the water, and it seemed they were collectible.
Ah! Oh gosh. Oh gosh. Okay, I can't do this right now.
And so I bailed. I don't know why I didn't swim literally 2 meters to the land there, but clearly Charlene had me pooping my pants. I then made a small crop plot in which I planted some veggies and watered them with some purified water. As day 2 dawned, I realized I'd somehow fished up 2 blueprints, one for an antenna and one for a receiver. I made a research table and popped it down here and expanded out the raft some more so that Charlene doesn't eat my new table. This allows you to research specific materials, and once you've researched each particular material to craft a specific item, that item becomes available to craft. I learned how to make a few things, including a bigger crop plot. I investigated my decorative crafting options and saw I could make a calendar.
My calendar wall. Yeah, let's go.
This is very handy, as without it I would have 100% lost track of what day it was and ended up doing like 142 days accidentally. I eventually thought to research nails as well, which are made from scrap, and this unlocked a very juicy crafting recipe, the simple collection net. This combines planks, rope, and nails to make a net that automatically catches the floaty trash for me. Absolutely beautiful. And as you can see, it was well into the night of day 2 before I paddled my way to a nearby island. I was determined to actually visit this one instead of quivering in fear. I found some watermelons, flowers of various colors, a palm tree and mango tree which I chopped down, and some pineapples. Except my bags were really full, so I think I may have missed some stuff. I ended up just making a pile of crap here on the raft to create space in my bags. This seagull started going absolutely ballistic on my crops.
Oi! Oi! This game's stressful, man. I just feel like I'm on the edge of my chair trying to maintain like a million things at once.
I was so stressed, in fact, that I completely forgot to try and scavenge underwater at the island. It's all good because there's always another island on the horizon. In the meantime, I scrounged together the plastic to make a couple of storage boxes, which solved my inventory overflow woes. And then I ate a watermelon. It takes 2 chomps to eat, and it quenches a fair bit of thirst and a bit of hunger too. I made a few more collection nets and spread them out around the place, and I opened up some of these decoration packages I found in barrels. I learned how to make a shelf, fireplace, firewood rack, and pile of books. I'd worked out that I could craft shark bait, so I was hoping to use some to vanquish Charlene. It required some fishies to make though, so I crafted a fishing rod and got to fishing. As day 4 dawned, I caught the last fish I needed. I chucked an extra fish on to fry and made my shark bait. I chucked it in the water and Charlene was intrigued. As she came in to grab the bait, I poked her with my spear and she swam off.
Come on, Charlene. Come on. Come on. Get it. Get it, you idiot.
And eventually the plan paid off.
Did I get him? I got him. He's flying. Why is he flying? Oh, he's floating. He's flying. I got a shark head. Yes. Hey, get away. Seagull stole my beats.
I don't know why I was calling Charlene a him again, but it doesn't matter because she's dead and I stole her meat and her head. Now, what I should have done at this point was head underwater and grab stuff while there were no sharks about. What I did instead was chase this weird dodo turkey around trying to stab it. But he was quite elusive, so I gave up and chopped down a few palm trees instead. I got some coconuts for my troubles. I then headed into the coral reef and was immediately assaulted by a self-destructing pufferfish that did a kamikaze fart on me. Once that pleasant aroma dissipated, I used my plastic hook to collect scrap, sand, clay, and stone. I obviously had to keep coming up for breath, but it wasn't too deep, so I didn't have too much trouble. I grabbed some seaweed too, and when I couldn't see much more to scavenge, I headed back to land, right into Pumbaa's loving arms.
Oh my gosh. What the heck?
I tried to fight the big fella, but I was having serious trouble, so I took refuge in the water.
What are you gonna do now, bro? Oh, there's another. What was that?
I honestly had no idea where that attack came from, so I swam away and decided to regroup at my raft. But this turned out to be a pretty bad idea.
I'm dead. Please don't kill me.
Charlene's cousin Charmaine the shark had found me and she was out for vengeance. But somehow I survived.
Oh, I made it.
I dumped all of my stuff and made a medium crop plot in which I planted some watermelon seeds. I also put some of that shark meat on to cook. I researched clay and seaweed and learned how to make clay bowls. I then crafted wet brick from sand and clay and placed it on the deck to dry. I also made a scarecrow to protect my crops from seagulls, as they'd pilfered my beets while I was away on the island. I made another storage container and then ate my cooked shark meat, which went a huge way to sating my hunger. I then made a break for the island while Charmaine wasn't looking and this time headed left. There was another huge area to explore and Charmaine was still circling my raft like an idiot, so I was free to scavenge away. I collected a bunch more goodies before attempting to come onto the island from this far side. I made my way up the hill a bit and I thought I'd escaped the warthog.
Where? Or was that a bird? What was that?
I then saw a light over behind a rock. Intrigued, I wandered over.
Hello?
What? I'd stumbled upon an island with a trading post, which took trash cubes and trade coins in exchange for all sorts of cool stuff. There were 3 tiers, 2 of which I needed to unlock, and I could sell these fancy fish in exchange for reputation and trade coins. I had no idea how to get trash cubes, and this gave me late game vibes, and yet I'd stumbled onto it on day 5.
Alright, well this is sick. I had no idea. Wait, did I just get glass, metal ingot, hinge? Let's go.
I wandered further up the island and the puzzle of the mysterious attacker was finally solved.
You. Oh, you're trying to drop stuff on me. He's dropping rocks on me.
As day 6 dawned, it was back into the water where I spotted something tantalizing.
Copper. I don't have bag space.
I ate 4 pineapples to make some room in my bags, which I actually think is quite impressive, especially while floating in the ocean. And I came away with a few copper ore for my troubles. I continued my sweep of the ocean floor and before long my hook broke. On my way back to my raft, I stumbled upon a curious find. It seems someone dropped a whole bunch of goodies all the way down here, almost too deep for me to reach safely. I vowed to return with a hook and headed off to my raft to make one. But first, it was time to go on a researching rampage with all the loot I'd found.
Advanced purifier, hinge, bolt, advanced grill, metal fishing rod, shovel, large crop plot, metal axe, scrap hook, metal spear, net launcher, shears, stationary anchor, storage, smelter.
I made a few more wet bricks and put them down to dry and made myself a scrap hook, which was the newly researched improved version of the plastic hook. And on my run back, I realized there was more of a story to this game than I thought.
Oh, what the heck? I just realized I got a journal. The world is gone, but its stories remain. Gather as many as you can. For Pete's sake, watch out for sharks.
Them stories sure sound interesting, but for now it was time to dive. I had to dive 5 or 6 times to collect all the loot down here, and I may have almost drowned.
Go, 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 go.
I came away with the juicy haul, most notably 18 metal ore and 12 copper. Back on the raft, I picked up my 5 dry bricks, and it was back to what I do best, drifting like a lonely nerd on the endless blue. I kept up my chores of farming, cooking, and purifying. I wondered where the heck my scarecrow had disappeared to, and then made myself a chest and filled it up with all my craft materials. I extended my raft out some more, put 2 more bricks down to dry, and checked out this little island. It just had fruit, flowers, and trees. I researched some of these flower types, and I have no idea what I unlocked. In fact, I have no idea what what these flowers do at all, but they sure are colourful. As day 8 dawned, I crafted myself a simple bed. I wasn't a fan of exploring in the dark, especially underwater, so I figured I might sleep through some nights in future. I also picked up my 2 dry bricks, crafted my first smelter, and chucked in a bunch of planks and a metal ore and set that to smelt away. It was then time to plunder the underwater part of this island, but Charmaine wasn't having it. I think she was still salty about that time I killed her cousin Charlene. So I collected my freshly smelted metal bar and made myself a metal spear and metal fishing rod and got to fishing. I wanted to use a shark bait technique again, so I needed to catch the appropriate fish to craft it, herrings and or pomfreys. Except my mistake was I'd made a higher tier fishing rod. I kept catching fancy fish like salmon and catfish, and about 300 of every fish out there except for the 2 crappy fish I needed. I even caught an old shoe which I planted a potato in, this chicken fella who to be fair is absolutely glorious, and this bottle candle light thinger. I eventually gave up and slipped into the water hoping to sneak by Charmaine. It worked for a while, but I was sniffed out eventually, so I returned to the raft for more fishing. And I immediately caught the pomfrey I needed. But then when I went to craft the shark bait, I didn't have enough rope anyway, so I tried my luck again, and this time I stood my ground. And I guess since I'd been chipping away at Charmaine every time she tried to eat my raft, she was quite low health, so I managed to kill her. With free reign in the water, I cleaned up what was left to grab. I found a giant clam, which was new, and also more metal ore and copper. It was lovely until...
Oh, Cheryl's here now.
That's right, Charmaine's adopted daughter Cheryl the shark had arrived to avenge her mother. I researched the giant clam, which lets me build a bird's nest, and then removed my anchor and returned to the endless drift. I smelted some copper and researched the copper bar, which unlocked the battery recipe, which was intriguing. By the beginning of day 10, I'd upped my chest count to 3, and I enjoyed getting my storage situation a little more organized. I moved my existing collectors to make things a bit neater, and I made the raft a bit less randomly shaped. Admittedly, it did have a collection appendage sticking out, but other than that, it was actually a square for once. While I was working on these renovations, I spotted a manta ray, very spicy, and I soon drifted into another island. So I chucked an anchor down, but didn't explore the island just yet because I had a bunch of stuff I was working on. I whacked down some more wet bricks to dry, as well as some lanterns for lighting, and at this point I realized I hadn't researched the antenna and receiver recipes that became available when I found those blueprints ages ago, so I had a look at the research table to try and figure out what I was missing. Turned out it was vine goo, and so I looked through my chests and had the idea to try and smelt some seaweed. And sure enough, it let me. Turns out it literally tells you this on the tooltip, but I was too much of a goose to read that. While that was smelting, I collected some fruit and flowers from the island.
Vine goo. Okay, this is what I needed all along. Empty bottle. Glorious. Circuit board. Yes. Sweetener. Flippers. Cooking pot.
I kept smelting seaweed for more vine goo and made myself some shark bait with which to vanquish Cheryl.
Hadouken. I'm inside the shark. Give me that shark meat.
I got perhaps halfway through collecting all the stuff down here when out of nowhere Cheryl's great auntie Charlotte the shark tried to eat me. This time I hid amongst the rocks and fought her toe to fin. I was beginning to realize that if I timed my attacks and movements, I could fight a shark underwater without even taking damage. And after they lunged at me, I could get heaps of pot shots in. And so I kept on scavenging. I found a random crate, which was nice, and soon enough my second hook of this expedition broke on me. And as I was recuperating on the raft, Charlotte's dad Shane the shark started devouring my bait. So I stabbed him a couple of times, but my spear broke. I didn't have the planks needed to make another one, so I decided to head out. Except my flamin' raft was stuck, so I had to paddle like a goose on the loose to get myself free. It was a struggle, but finally, at the dawn of day 12, I got myself back into drift mode. Please like the video if you agree that there's no better mode than drift mode, and subscribe if I missed this barrel. I extended the raft a bit, put another copper bar on to smelt, and enjoyed the fruits of my collection nets.
I think we can make a circuit board now. Research, antenna, sprinkler, receiver, juicer. Whoa! Beautiful. I wonder if I can do anything with those. If I like set up anchor here, if I could fight them or something.
I began smelting sand to make glass, and I made a second smelter with some bricks I'd left out to dry to speed up production. I used the glass to make an advanced purifier and cleared some space to place it down here. This fit 5 cups of seawater at once. I made a grill too. Food and water concerns just got way easier, which felt amazing. I collected my first batch of fried fish, and they were much better to eat than cooked potatoes or beets. I drifted close to this dilapidated raft, so I quickly dropped an anchor and swam over to check it out. There was a crate up top in which I found the recipe for vegetable soup, and let me tell you, never underestimate vegetable soup. This recipe ended up being the greatest later in the run. On my return to the raft, Shane bit my butt a couple of times, but I made it back.
We're putting our soup A soup recipe can go up here next to the calendar.
By the way, it may be hard to tell, but my raft was actually weirdly askew, which I think happened when I got stuck on that island earlier. This means that my collectors were awkwardly positioned at an angle to the trash, and it wasn't collecting very efficiently, and this was annoying the crap out of me. So I made myself a sail and tried to use it to rotate my raft, but all it did was push the raft in various directions without rotating it. Well, at least I finally had a sail. Probably should have had one of these ages ago. Anyway, I gave up and made my first water bottle from vine goo and plastic. This fits 5 cups worth of water. I put one of the salmon I caught earlier on to cook.
That's a big honkin' salmon.
I made a streamer which shows me which way the wind is blowing, and I made an antenna and put it here. It doesn't do anything without a receiver though, so I made one of those. I had a quick munch of my freshly cooked salmon and found it had 3 bites worth in it. Very nice. And then this happened.
That's a whale. Can I stab it?
I placed the simple battery to power the receiver, turned it on, and it simply said it requires higher altitude. And so on day 14, I spent about 10 years trying to get the flamin' antenna and receiver combo to work. And in the process, I learned a lot about all the options I had available using my building hammer. I made some poles, some raised platforms, some flooring, stairs, and ladders. I eventually figured out that it was the receiver that needed to be up higher, and the antenna seemed to be at an okay height up here, but needed to be a bit further away from the receiver. Oh, and I needed 2 more of them. This techie business is complicated. I managed to position the antenna acceptably far away, but I wasn't exactly impressed with the structure I'd built.
Look at this mess. Look at this mess. It's a disgrace.
I made 2 more antennas and lined them up.
Too close to other. Goodness sake. What if you're removed? Is that still too close? Okay.
You can hear the mild frustration in my voice there. Clearly, I wasn't a big fan of antennas at this point in my life. It's fine though, because I drifted into a little island, so I gave myself a break and went for an explore. It was a typical island, flowers, fruit, and trees kind of deal. I admired my raft from above.
It's kind of janky.
And once the land was picked bare, I headed underwater. I somehow escaped Shane's notice, so I had free reign over the delicious ocean's bounty. By this point, I decided I couldn't be bothered collecting stone, as I didn't seem to need much, but everything else got slapped by my hook. Shane was too dumb to eat me while I was in the water, but he was happy to eat my raft, which was a big mistake.
5 sharks down. Shane's dead. I wonder who's coming next.
Spoiler alert, Shane's long-lost brother Sheridan came next. I headed back into the water with my fresh hook, and man, this was a juicy underwater area. My resource chest was looking nice and full, so I kept those smelters working overtime. I got back to trying to figure out how to get the receiver working. Firstly, I gave my one functional antenna its own little tower platform. I then enlarged the receiver's platform so it actually fit properly, and made another antenna tower, hoping that 3 foundations away was enough.
Is that acceptable? Yes. Let's go, turtle. Can I stab you?
I put up my final antenna tower, the same distance away on the other side, and it was the moment of truth.
Let's go.
I ended up heading to the nearest green dot about 900 meters away. I was pretty sure the radar works orientated to the direction the receiver is facing, and so by that logic, I turned the sail in the direction of the green dot.
I don't know what the green thing means. I don't know why that one's blue. Maybe I should be going to the blue one because there's 2 green ones. Maybe the blue one's more important. I don't know. I
built another row of foundations to protect my antenna towers, and I also figured out that if I destroy a damaged foundation block with an axe, I salvage half the materials it cost to make in the first place, which isn't too bad. It would have been better if I just figured out how to repair properly, but that can wait until like day 60 because I'm a bit slow.
Can I make like a reusable anchor at this point? Stationary anchor. Holy crap, it's huge.
I slapped this big boy anchor down here and added some more foundations to protect it from Sheridan. And then I gazed longingly at the island the green dot had led me to. And this is where I realized I was no longer moving towards the island. My raft was sitting still.
For some reason I have to paddle the remaining distance. I think it's working.
It was working, but my paddle broke. And somehow I didn't have the materials to make another one. And then using my elite powers of deduction, I worked out why I was stuck.
It's because I'm going like directly against the wind, is that why? Oh.
And so I tried zigzagging across the wind, hoping I could slowly edge my way closer. It didn't work. I weighed anchor and drifted away for a bit so I could gather resources, and then I made a second sail.
Am I getting closer? No, I'm just staying still. I'm getting further away.
Well, of course you're getting further away, you idiot. Sails catch the wind. They don't magically fight against the wind. Anyway, I gave up and decided to head for the blue dot instead.
Why am I a woman?
You may remember that on day 1, I was well and truly of the male persuasion, but now I was looking slightly different. I'm not sure what the heck happened there. I think something weird happened with my steam sinking. Either way, why not? I fished as I went in an effort to keep up my stock of food. I also fished up this little cat. He likes to wave. That night, Sheridan tried to eat my raft for the last time. Rest in peace, fella.
We're close. We're closing in. We're moving so slow though.
Once again, I was fighting the wind. I was beginning to wonder if I simply do not know how to raft. I tried the zigzagging technique again.
Alright, we're zigging and zagging now.
And of course it didn't work. So I whipped out the paddles.
Oh, I actually found it. There it is.
My rather questionable paddling technique was actually working. I had arrived at what resembled an oil rig with big old satellite dishes on top. And 2.5 paddles later, I finally made it to my first story location in Raft. And so I began exploring. There was a bunch of plastic and scrap I could pick up, so that was nice. And there were also some strange spray painted messages.
Caught a shark, named him Bruce. I got you, Bruce.
And I found this note.
January. It's been weeks. Just me and Owl here now. Stuck on this platform.
Basically, a bunch of weirdos with bird code names were experiencing strife, and someone named Sparrow stole the boat. So Owl and Cuckoo were stranded. Join the club and cry me a river, birdies. I've been stranded at sea for 19 days now. I performed some extraordinary parkour and found myself a crate with some juicy loot. I then found a headlight blueprint. This sounds convenient for late night diving. And I found another note.
Owl's radio notes, 22nd of December. Distress call received. 2nd of February. Gunshots in the distance. 6th of March. Another distress call. Varuna Point. Missing child.
This radio tower was getting all kinds of distress calls from all over the place. And finally, I was at the top.
Oh. What the heck?
This was neither Cuckoo nor Owl, so I was confused. But I guess I just unlocked a new playable character. And she promptly turned into a beam of light, which was alarming. Anyway, I then grabbed the recycler blueprint.
This is how you get trash cubes. Nice.
Maybe the trading post isn't such a late game thing after all. There was also a photo of Utopia, question mark, and coordinates to a new location. I opened up my journal and all my radio tower notes were recorded neatly, and I now had a new tab for Vasagatan, which I guess is where I'm supposed to go next. I returned to my raft, stashed my loot, and hit up the research table. I was able to learn how to make a recycler immediately, but I had to research a battery before I could learn the headlight recipe. I immediately made a recycler and started filling it with palm leaves, and it was taking a lot. I put in about 80 and it still wasn't full, so I decided I'd come back to it later. I hit up the receiver to punch in my new coordinates. Up until this point, I had no idea what this weird thing with the numbers was, but obviously this is where I put in 4819, my new destination. It was about 2 kilometers away. But first I decided to scavenge under the radio tower. There wasn't much there, but I did get into a battle with Sheridan's private investigator, Sherlock the Shark.
You dead, Sherlock.
Soon enough, I was back to drifting and I made myself a headlight and some flippers, my first equipable items. I was particularly excited about the flippers because fast swimming sounds very handy. Day 21 dawned as I set off towards the blue dot. I expanded my raft out a bit and consolidated all the collection nets into one long line. And I made even more collection nets and lengthened the line as wide as I could. I spread them out on every second spot as I figured this gave the best coverage for now, but the goal was to eventually have every spot full of collection nets spanning the entire width of the trash zone, so I never missed any trash. Sherlock's old partner Watson the Shark bothered me a bit, but I poked him away, and before long, just as I was about to explain how proud I was of my collection line,
now I feel like I'm pretty much... Wait, what the heck is this? That's a cruise ship.
I got my inventory sorted and headed out to investigate.
Mechanical part.
It looked like I'd immediately found an item that was going to come in handy on the ship, as it went into my journal as a sort of story item type deal. I climbed up the front of the ship to find it was looking rather deserted. I claimed a crate of goodies, had a peek through this window, looking kind of creepy in there, not gonna lie, and then spotted another mechanical part on the other side of the boat, so I grabbed that quickly.
Door is locked from the other side. Can I climb up there? I can. Door is locked from the other side.
I headed down to the lower deck and made my way into this tossed up bar area. I found some bullets, plus the first note of the boat.
As I've suspected, the crew is completely incompetent. Of course, the food shortage will need to be handled. Tonight we're discussing which staff members are most suitable for termination.
Well, that is one way of handling a food shortage. I found my third and fourth mechanical part, and then a sneaky entrance at the back of the yacht. I made my way into the bowels of the ship, and it was rather dark, so I whacked my headlight on. I grabbed a crowbar from this engine room and also turned on this switch, and I have no idea what that did, but the crowbar helped me to open this door, so that was good. Oh. Oh, okay, they're not that hard. Raw meat.
disgusting raw meat, but raw meat. Any more of you weirdos in here?
This bunk room had some vegetable soup, which I ate, and it was quite nourishing, and a locker that said requires bolt cutters. I was getting serious escape room puzzle solving kind of vibes, and honestly that wasn't something I expected to come across in this game, but it was pretty fun so far. Next I found a door that required a blue key, and a bathroom where I found a red key. I used the red key to get into this room where I found another mechanical part, a bolt cutter, and a car jack.
Requires electrical wires, lighter, gas tank, bullet. Am I gonna make a bomb or something? That's giving me bomb vibes.
I was very excited at the prospect of potentially blowing something up, so I rushed back to the locker room and cracked it open with my newly acquired bolt cutters. This rewarded me with the blue key, and a note from Olaf whining about no one obeying him. I was getting the vibe that Olaf was something of a villain. The blue key unlocked a way upstairs, so I munched some watermelons and headed up. I found a creepy bar area with a pool table, some creepy but admittedly pretty fancy bedrooms, some hilarious graffiti on this painting, and this disturbing recording.
Hanna, you were brought to keep the engines running. That is what you...
That's one of those damn rats. What are you doing to it?
Get out! Do your job.
He was experimenting on a rat. We finally found something interesting here. 4-digit code. Oh!
I continued my systematic exploration of the ship and headed upstairs. My headlight ran out of battery, but I powered on and hoped I wouldn't poop my pants. I found a door that needed a key card and the 4-digit code for that safe back downstairs. Oh, and a note that can be summed up by this line.
I will create true soldiers. Loyal soldiers.
Yeah, old mate Olaf wants to mutate and train animals to be his soldiers. That guy is a lunatic. I opened the safe and found some electrical wires and another recording.
The crew are planning a mutiny, Captain. It is time to act.
They're just trying to stay alive. Are you mad?
Yes, Captain, he is mad. He is quite mad indeed. Next, it was upstairs where I found a key card, which I used to access this office containing the green key. And the green key got me through this door upstairs. This was like the penthouse of the ship.
Oh, there's the lighter. Okay, nice.
Get to the lifeboats. Hurry!
Olaf, you coward!
Watch out!
Sounds like that was a recording of the moment the yacht crashed into these rocks. Anyway, it was nighttime now and I had to head back into the bowels of the ship to make my bomb. So I did what any brave man would do. I returned to my raft and made a new headlight.
Alright. We have made a bomb.
I climbed my way to the top of the stairs and blew up the final door.
Oh! That was exciting.
I found a toolbox with 4 hinges in it, which was most excellent, a blueprint for a steering wheel, an esky with some choice beverages, and another blueprint for an engine. Those were some very exciting blueprints. And finally, I found a note with the coordinates to Balboa Island, my next destination. As I departed the yacht, I half expected Olaf to come out of nowhere and try to fight me, but no such violence occurred. And to sum up my experience on the ship, I said,
That was pretty cool. Somewhat creepy.
I punched in the new coordinates and they were literally in the opposite direction to the wind, so I decided it was time to drift for a while. My theory was the blue dot would probably despawn if I got far enough away from it, and hopefully it would appear at a more convenient location.
If not, I'm gonna have to go back like 85 billion kilometers once I get an engine. Speaking of which, I can learn steering wheel and engine immediately. Nice.
I didn't look into these spicy new recipes right away though. I'd done 2 story locations in the space of 5 days, so I wanted to take it easy for a while. I worked on the line of nets. I managed to fill in most of the gaps by the end of that day, which used up like 200 palm leaves. Definitely worth it though. Day 25 was much the same with some serious drifting going on, reveling in the glory of my unbroken line of collection nets. All the rubbish belongs to me. I built my raft out even more and did chores much like yesterday. By the way, I'd made a second bottle to use as my seawater refill container by this point, which was definitely much more efficient than doing it 1 cup at a time. And before long, I'd expanded the raft out a huge amount, pretty much doubling its size. I would not have been able to afford this even a few days ago, but now that I was drifting with so many collection nets, I was collecting plenty of plastic and planks. I made a chest for my food, and as you can see, my food stores were pretty impressive thanks to my diligent farming and cooking. And then with a nice big open space available, I began construction of a hut that I was planning to use for production. But I was interrupted as I drifted directly into this big old island. I made myself a net launcher, which I can use to catch animals apparently, and a bow along with a bunch of stone arrows. The net launcher warned me no ammo, but I couldn't figure out how to make ammo for it, so I gave up for now. Watson also tried to eat my raft, so he suffered the same fate as his old friend Sherlock. And then with the seas now temporarily free of sharks, I went for a dive. You know the drill, I collected all them underwater goodies for so long that another shark appeared.
Get absolutely destroyed, Cheryl. I've already had a Cheryl? I don't remember.
We have of course already had a Cheryl, that was shark number 3. What I was thinking when I misspoke there was that this dead fishy is actually Cheryl's favorite pop singer, Cher the shark. Anyway, I continued collecting underwater for so long, another shark attacked me.
You want some, do you? Oh, I'm drowning. I'm at more risk of drowning than I am of you. I'm cutting you up from the inside. You don't even deserve a name. That's my excuse for not naming you, because I've literally run out of names.
With the benefit of time to think up a name, it's clear that this shark was Cher's dog's best friend, Shaggy the shark.
What is this guy doing? I got him. Explosive goo. Wait, can I? Oh my gosh. I didn't realize I could actually put it on my head. Beautiful.
The tooltip for explosive goo said it can be dried in a smelter, so I did precisely that. And while scrolling through the research table, I realized the water bottle could be researched, so I made one and unlocked the oxygen bottle and binoculars recipes. For some reason I didn't make either of them though, but I really should have made the oxygen bottle. It's incredibly useful, as I found out like 30 days later because I'm an idiot. Anyway, once the explosive goo was turned to powder, I researched that too, unlocking the net canister recipe. That answered the question of how to get ammo for the net launcher. Since this was a big island, I was pretty sure it had a trading post on it, so I finished filling up the recycler and gave it a battery, and it got to work crushing. And then it was finally time to hit up the island proper. There was a warthog who got extremely confused by water, so I cheesed the fight big time by chilling in the shallows. Check out my new look. I explored the lower part of the island collecting as I went, and also found a little cave with mounds of dirt that appeared to require a shovel. So I headed back to the raft and crafted one, and then dug up some dirt. I then climbed to the top of the island and got some loot, and I also got into an epic battle with this bird idiot that dropped like 300 rocks on me. I had serious trouble hitting it with my bow. I think I managed like 3 hits total. And after wasting literally 40 arrows, I retreated to my raft. Alberto was too strong for me.
My trash cube done? Oh, 3 trash cubes. Okay, that's nice.
I had put about 100 bits of trash in, so it seems like 25 or 30 trash ended up as 1 cube, which seems like a pretty good ratio to me. I also researched dirt.
Grass plot. Add water, get grass, feed animals. Interesting.
I then hit up the trading post and bought 12 simple bait with my 3 trash cubes. This will allow me to catch fancy fish to sell in exchange for trading coins and reputation. I then stole a crate of loot from my bird nemesis, fled back to my raft and got back into drift mode. And while ticking off some chores, I used my bait to catch some fancy fish. By the way, the green dot in front of me is the island I was just at, so I surmised green dots were islands with traders present. Except on this radar, it looks like it's in front of my raft, when in fact it's behind me where I left it. So I decided to move my receiver so that it was actually facing the same way my raft was, because I kept getting confused. And when I did, I found that the blue dot had reset and was now probably reachable if I angled my sail correctly. Now, any experienced raft players out there probably know how stupid it was of me to think this, but either way, my stupidity will be revealed in a couple of days. You'll see. I decided to stop off at this little island. I killed Shaggy's girlfriend Shauna the shark and then pilfered the underwater. It's day 31 and I'm drifting towards a blue dot. Look at the state of my materials chests, replete with resources. You love to see it. I then continued working on my build over on this side of the raft and decided to put my crop plots up here on the right of the platform and my cooking stuff here tucked between the 2 staircases. And this is about when I realized I'm quite stupid.
Oh wait, what is this? Isn't that the radio tower? You're joking, right? Why is this wrong? Why did this reset? I swear I put in 9495. You silly Wally. Oh, I guess this gives me more time to work on my raft. ...
Looking at the footage, I'm pretty sure the receiver reset the original radio tower coordinates when I moved it a couple of days ago. And of course, I didn't notice. But if you thought that was the end of my stupidity, just you wait. I then worked on expanding my cooking setup a bit.
Okay, we're making a juicer. A cooking pot.
Turns out these are pretty huge. So I put the cooking pot down first and put up the recipes I compiled so far. To cook, you simply put the 4 ingredients onto their spot and off you go. I added some half walls to the side and placed down my purifier with fenced off access to the sea so I can easily grab salt water. Opposite that, I placed my juicer. I didn't have any strawberries needed for the soul juicer recipe I had though, so I wasn't able to give it a whirl just yet. The finished soup in the cook pot required a clay bowl to collect, so I made a bunch and scooped it out. From this point on, veggie soup became my go-to food for the rest of these 100 days. I noticed my nets were letting trash slip through, and upon investigation realized they all had 10 things in them, which must be the limit. So I made 3 more chests and placed them here as a temporary material dump. I made a second purifier and placed it here, and I ate the first of my homemade veggie soup.
We love to see that. That's good.
And I investigated my lighting options and discovered I can make these lanterns.
Can I? Oh yeah, let's go.
On day 33, I got my bearings again and saw the blue dot really was stubborn about remaining 2 kilometers behind me at all times. I began to wonder if I was going to be forced to make an engine before I could progress. I mean, that would make sense. But for now, I wanted to keep building. I placed these walls with windows all the way around and some doors. I then made a few more small crop plots and lined them up inside. And I gave it a palm leaf roof. Check out my hut building thingo. Looking pretty good.
Pretty serious beet and potato operation here.
I made one of the large crop plots and apparently it would have fit right in the middle, but that would have been kind of silly. So I placed it over here temporarily and planted a tree, and then realized I drifted right next to a green dot island, so I decided to check it out. I had one goal in mind, to kill a pufferfish, and I found one right under my raft. This time I was equipped with my bow so that he couldn't get close to me and blow himself up. I turned the explosive goo into powder and made myself a net canister, and I was ready to hit up the island.
Let's sell these fish. Let's try and find any dirt I can, because I want dirt. Let's try and catch an animal if I can.
I focused on those objectives and resisted collecting everything I saw, which honestly required a lot of restraint. I have a deep impulse to collect everything. I did fight and kill this warthog though, and this time without exploiting his aversion to water. Against my better judgment, I also went toe to toe with one of these bird idiots again. But by this point, I guess my aim had improved, as I managed to hit it about 10 times and
Finally! Let's go. So many feathers.
I also spotted one of those dodo dinguses, as well as a llama, but I left them both to prance about while I checked out the trading post. I sold my 12 fish, earning 12 trade coins and 120 reputation, getting me almost halfway to tier 2, and then it was time to catch the llama.
Alright, I'm carrying a llama. Change animal name. Ooh, okay. I think you deserve to be called Dingus.
I gotta say, it's kind of hard to see where you're going when you're carrying a dingus, but I managed to get back to the raft. Especially impressive was my ability to swim while using both hands to embrace a llama. I popped Dingus down, and it seems she's tame now, so I left her to chill and researched the feather. I unlocked metal arrows, the paintbrush, and the hammock. I also grabbed a bunch of my excess palm leaves and chucked them into the recycler, as I must do something about my extreme lack of trash cubes. As day 36 dawned, I made Dingus a little temporary spot over here, and made some shears with which I collected my first piece of wool. I researched it and unlocked recipes for a full set of leather armor, but what I was really excited about was the backpack recipe. Extra inventory space sounds absolutely delicious. I then headed into the ocean hoping to find another pufferfish so I can net the bird idiot too. And I don't know if the same one from yesterday respawned or what, but I found one immediately, which was very handy.
Hey, the llama got out.
I destroyed the stairs to ensure Dingus pulls off no further escapades, and then headed back to the island in search of dirt, because if I'm gonna tend animals, I'll need some dirt plots to grow grass for their feed.
Oh, this looks promising.
I found 8 clumps of dirt, some cave mushrooms, and 2 crates of loot, a most glorious cave. I made 4 dirt plots, which I placed and watered so Dingus will have some food, and hopefully in turn produce more wool for me. I grabbed my trash cubes.
I got 4 that time.
I refilled the recycler and then headed out to scavenge underwater for a bit. And I had an epic battle with Sean the shark come to avenge his wife, Shauna. I collected a bunch, including the remains of another pufferfish, and then wandered onto the island to hit up the trade post again.
Spicy pine berry. I think I'm gonna need chili for that though. Let's have a look. Oh, I need strawberries and chili. I don't have either of those things. That was a questionable purchase.
I decided I should just gun towards reputation so that I can get to the higher tiers. And so I bought 12 more bait with my 3 remaining trash cubes. I then netted this headless chicken. I decided to name it Alfred, which upon reflection is a questionable name because this thing produces eggs, so it stands to reason it's female. But with a head like that, Alfred suits, I reckon. I waited around for more trash cubes and was pleased to shear my second piece of wool off Dingus, and also collected my first egg from Alfred. I eventually made the long walk back to the trading post with 5 trash cubes handy. When I got there, I found I could only spend 2 of them on bait, as the trader only had 5 in stock. I'd hoped to buy even more bait, but at least I now had 20 total, so that'll be 200 reputation. Enough to get me to tier 2 at the next green dot island I come across. I then finally got around to making myself an engine and a steering wheel. I first placed the engine, which confused me greatly, but I eventually worked out you need 3 tiles worth of space for the big spinny wheel. You could insert planks as fuel, you could change the direction the engine pushed, and you could activate and deactivate at will. I turned it on and then whacked the steering wheel down and attempted to direct my raft towards the dreaded blue dot. It was very cool to be able to turn my raft at will, but you may notice my engine was facing the wrong way. Also, it didn't seem to be turning very fast. I corrected my engine's positioning so that it actually pointed to the front of my raft, but the engine was still sluggish. I made a second engine and then noticed something.
1 equals 100 foundations. I think I have way too many foundations.
By my elite calculations, I had about 500 foundations. I actually had about half that. So if I just made one more engine, I would have been fine to get moving. But for some reason, my maths was out of this world horrible and I got overwhelmed. I lost confidence and I didn't want to have to use all my metal ingots on engines. And so I handled my problems the mature way. I gave up and continued drifting for a bit. After some time chugging away at chores, I decided it would be smart to turn my raft so that the collection nets were at the front rather than the back. So I used my steering wheel to turn 180 degrees. Now this meant that my receiver and steering wheel were now pointing the wrong way, so I of course turned them around. And you may recall what happened last time I moved the receiver. Yeah, the coordinates reset again, and therefore the receiver locked onto a different blue dot.
It's in front of me now. How did that happen?
In my defense, I didn't actually know what had reset my receiver the first time, but it really should have been obvious. Oh man, part of me wants to edit this nonsense out, but I gotta be real. You guys need to know the degree to which I am a goose on the loose. I had a brief interlude from the engine shenanigans to enjoy the fruit of Alfred's wool I'd been collecting.
Oh, let's go. That's a lot. That's 10 more slots. That's beautiful.
I drifted into this island, so I made a quick stop to dive for seaweed, metal ore, and copper. And while in the water, I killed Shazam the shark, Shaun the Shark's favorite superhero. I decided I wanted more smelters, so I made some wet bricks and placed them to dry. And once they were dry, I made 3 more smelters and placed all my smelters on the other side of the hut. I also put a little wall up to split the production and farm areas up. And then I realized.
I think we're going bang on. Yes, we will definitely. Hang on.
I'll cut that clip there because the strange words uttered next are not fit for mortal ears. Suffice it to say, I was suitably annoyed at my stupidity. Now that I had the correct coordinates in my receiver again, I spent all of day 41 moving a bunch of crap around to make room for a bunch of engines. And on day 42, I made 2 more engines. And once I had placed 3 of them down, I didn't really have any more room, so I decided to fire up the 3 I had and see how it went. I filled them with 20 planks each and...
1, 2, 3. Oh! I think 3's enough.
My days as a drifting idiot were finally over. I aimed myself at the blue dot, the correct blue dot, and from here on out I had control over my raft's destiny. While sifting through the tons of trash my collection nets had picked up, I noted I had heaps of decorative care packages. I began unwrapping them and immediately got an achievement.
I think that means I've learned every decorative recipe, which is pretty sweet.
I had some time to kill, so I made a paint mill. I was confused as to why I couldn't place it anywhere, and then I worked out this thing's got to dip into the water in order to spin. So I whacked it over here for now and chucked some yellow flowers in, which I imagine will turn into yellow paint. I then looked through my decorative options a little and decided to make some trophy boards. I put a pufferfish head on this medium trophy board and a shark head on this big trophy board.
Actually, this is so ugly. I hate it. We'll leave the shark there though.
And then, the moment we've all been waiting for.
We actually made it. I can't believe it. The saga of like the last 6 or 7 days has been such fails. Eventually we got there.
And then the moment that no one asked for.
Oi! He just destroyed my engine!
Yeah, so apparently if a foundation your engine is sitting on gets destroyed, the entire engine dematerializes. I don't know why I didn't have extra foundations protecting the engine, but I won't be making that mistake again. Luckily I had an extra engine from earlier, so I was able to place that down. And with that, my engines were able to pull up at the sheer cliff face of Balboa Island. After quickly murdering Sherwood the shark, Shazam the shark's butler, I swam along this gap in the cliff face and found myself on a beach.
Watch out for bears. That sounds kind of scary. Oh, I haven't had these berries before. Wild berries.
This island was huge, so I was basically immediately lost. But I did find a signpost, so that was handy.
Ranger station, relay station 2, relay station 4, relay station 6. I'm gonna check down this way first.
Down this way, there were bees. I immediately recalled the sweep net crafting recipe. I hadn't made one yet as I didn't know what it was for, but I had a feeling I'd be able to catch these bees.
Is that a bear? Yep. This bear is angry, dude. He was pretty easy, to be honest. Oh, he's given lots of leather. Let's go!
I spotted a pine tree I could cut down, hadn't seen one of those before, and then I decided to head in the direction of the ranger station. I killed another bear.
I like the bears, they're not that hard and they give me lots of leather. Henry's stuff, keep out. Who's Henry?
I forged on despite the great mystery surrounding Henry, and soon found myself doing nuclear waste parkour, and then I was at my destination. I climbed up Relay Station 2 first, and found a note from Bruno, who was anxious that he and his sister might have been abandoned. I'd say you're onto something, Bruno. This island is not in great shape. Also, was it you or Henry who made the nuclear waste obstacle course? I also flicked this switch, and now 1 out of 3 relay stations were active. Next, I headed to the ranger station.
Requires 1 light bulb. 1 Bruno's hammer. Oh. Mixes raw food and honey to create biofuel. Cool.
It then got dark and I got extremely lost. I stumbled onto a beach with like 20 stones on it. I fought a bear under moonlight, and I heard a dinging noise.
Oh. Huh? I just got an achievement. Is that all there is? What's the point of that?
There was no point to that. I do love a haunted bike in the woods though. I found this random tub and placed 5 wild berries in it.
Oh! I think I made a mistake. Oh, I'm dead.
For some reason, Mama Bear decided I wasn't worth finishing off. I guess wild berries are simply too delicious to resist. And so somehow I survived. I guess that's why they say don't poke the bear. Anyway, I then proceeded to poke the bear. There were like 300,000 trees in the way up here, so I went all the way around and started shooting at her through this gap between tree and rock. It didn't work. I must have hit her like 25 times, but she didn't die. Either she has tons of health and I gave up too quickly, or her health was resetting each time she ran back to the berries. Either way, I eventually gave up on those shenanigans and snuck into her cave. I found a blueprint for a machete, a toolbox with a machete in it, some dirt, and some mushrooms. I then headed back to my raft, except I went to the wrong beach and then stubbornly decided to swim back, so I was swimming for about 8 years. I crafted my sweep net, plus some more weapons, and then did something unheard of. I slept through the night. I did this purely to avoid darkness because I was genuinely lost last night. Check out the vibe on my raft during day 46's sunrise. Picturesque. I headed back out and killed Sherman the shark, Sherwood the shark's chef, and then headed towards bees. Winnie the Pooh had respawned though, and he didn't appreciate me stealing his honey. My bee quest is well underway. Then it was off to turn on the other 2 relay towers.
Bobby's maze, no trespassing. Bruno's saw.
I have no idea what Bobby's maze was all about. It didn't look like a maze to me, but whatever. I powered on and found myself at a drawbridge, raised on the other side of a giant drop.
Can I shoot an arrow at this thing? Oh, that actually worked.
Fortunately, I narrowly avoided becoming a human pancake drawbridge victim, and I crossed over and found myself atop Relay Station 4.
The kids are fighting. Oh, Astrid would have known how to make them stop. Please, I just want to talk, sis. Miranda is screaming outside. I hope her and Henry make up soon.
I was getting the vibe Bruno was slightly off his noodle, and perhaps he has like imaginary friends. Either way, 2 out of 3 relay towers were now active, and I found Bruno's hammer, as well as a fuel pipe blueprint and a map of the island. This map looked lovely, but I'm gonna be honest, it didn't help me. My strategy remained to wander until I found stuff. My wandering led me to bees, and these bees actually did damage to me, which was very rude.
Oh, there's a cave here. Oh, this is what I need the machete for?
I found some more dirt, love me some dirt, and on the other side of the cave, Relay Station 6.
Oh, they're hiding something. Did they figure out there's only space for 2 of them on the boat? I've decided. I leave the triplets in charge of the remaining relay stations. Bobby will take care of the bears.
Yeah, Bruno is definitely off his noodle. Anyway, I found Bruno's wrench, and then...
Johnny. Who the heck are you?
Johnny is the kind of bloke that turns into a giant beam of golden light. I found a blueprint for a fuel tank, and that sounds like everything I need to get a proper fuel setup for my engines. And I turned on the final relay tower.
Oh, that was all 3, and I got a new note. Caravan Town 8973.
I had unfinished business on the island though.
Just a random note here.
Betrayal. Father trusts the murderers.
Bruno's gotten weirder and weirder, man.
He would leave us behind. We can't have that.
Father has to make a decision. I know it won't be me, so I will be spared.
Not enough boat for all of us. I am sorry, Errol.
Alright, there's my light bulb.
The guilty lay restless. We must be punished if we are to rest.
That voice actor for Bruno's had a field day with these weird voices.
I radioactive parkoured back to the ranger station and screwed the light bulb in, restoring the head to this imaginary creature, and placed the tools on the wall, revealing this postcard from Bruno and his sister. Some lovely Easter egg type finds to round out a lovely trip to Bear Island. Day 48 and we're back to drifting, baby. I researched a bee and unlocked the recipe for a beehive, and I researched honeycomb, which unlocked the recipe for honey and improved health salves. I made a beehive which required 15 of the bees I'd caught, and I placed it down in here and figured the bees would probably benefit from some flowers nearby, so I planted some, and then decided it was time to upgrade my raft. It's possible to make all of your raft components solid, which is a more expensive, sturdier, and fancier looking upgrade. I managed to upgrade the front part of my raft before running out of plastic completely. Looks like this will be a more expensive upgrade project than I anticipated. I realized the hut was made of planks only though, so I was able to upgrade it fully. Very fancy. I checked on my beehive and it looks like those are some bees. It seemed to be working, but I decided to hit up the old Google to be sure. It turns out for beehives to produce optimally, you need at least 12 flowers within a 1 block radius. So I moved 4 small crop plots over and made a glorious discovery. They hang on walls. I hung all 4 up and filled them with flowers, and hopefully that does the trick. I then arrived at the green dot island I'd been motoring towards, and it was smaller than I expected. It looked like a new island variety. I ducked underwater first, but there wasn't too much to scavenge. I did kill Shay the shark, Sherman the shark's niece's best friend, and also a puffer fish for some of that explosive goo. On the island itself, I found some bees, and there were caravans, which put me in mind of Caravan Town, my next story location.
Oh, what are you? Oh, you look ugly.
The abominable pig didn't give me too much trouble, but these zip lines did.
I don't have a zipline tool. Wait a minute. Does that mean I can't get up there?
That is exactly what it means, so no trading post for me today. I did, however, find myself my first goat. I put Billy in with Dingus and Albert, made myself a bucket, and collected my first bucket of milk. I pointed the raft in the direction of the next green dot, because I've still got business with the island trading post, and then decided to put a simple smoothie into blend. My first time using the juicer. Some honeycomb was ready, 3 honeycomb to be precise, so it was working properly, which was great news. When the smoothie was ready, I made a glass to put it in, but didn't drink it just yet as I wasn't thirsty. I then arrived at the island and opted to hit up the underwater zone first, as I felt I was due a top up of materials. I killed Shay the shark's best friend, Shay the shark. That's Shay with an E, different spelling to the other Shay. It's confusing, I know, there's like so many sharks, it's hard to keep track. I found one of these fallen crate situations. These are always good for tons of resources, but it was quite annoying managing my breath for such a deep dive, so I finally made my first oxygen bottle. And man, I wish I made one sooner. This at least doubled my breath capacity. I killed a couple of pufferfish and collected till the sun came up. Then it was time to hit up the island trader.
We can sell all of these. Boom, 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 boom. Oh, I need 3,000 reputation now? Holy crap.
After some diligent recycling over the past couple of weeks, I had 26 trash cubes. So I used 10 of them buying all the tier 1 and tier 2 bait I could. I then bought the advanced small and medium crop plot blueprints. Hopefully they're bigger and fancier. And I bought a juniper, not really sure why. And finally, I bought a foundation counter. This will tell me exactly how many foundations my raft has, making engine management much easier. I grabbed the recipes for the crop plots and tried to research juniper too, but got nothing. My guess is this is for some cookpot recipe I don't have yet. I also made a little table for the foundation counter and gave it pride of place under idiot.
Heading to another green island, because why not? And hopefully I'll pick up heaps of trash on the way, because that's kind of all I need at the moment. I feel like I just need to trash. I just need to trash it up.
I made it to another green island in short order, and it had the same vibe as that zipliney island from before. This one had no zip lines though, and I don't know why I came, to be honest, since I had no more trash cubes anyway, but at least I got some bees and enjoyed the opportunity to skewer this hideous pig. Or should I say the opportunity to nearly die to this hideous pig. This time as I headed back to sea, I decided to drift with the wind and spend some time just collecting that sweet, sweet trash. I kept on recycling and upgrading foundations as the trash came in, and also made another beehive. I made a few advanced small crop plots, moved my old crop plots next to the beehive, and then placed my fancy new plots on this wall. I made 4 advanced medium crop plots too. They fit 4 crops instead of 2, which is glorious. And I got to farming with my new and improved setup. I'd been making veggie soup non-stop, so this increase in beet and potato production was handy. I kept compacting trash, of course, and one thing I haven't mentioned is that I have to change battery every 8 or so cubes, so I was building quite the stock of dead batteries. The raft was also very close to being fully upgraded to solid materials. Look how shiny the upgraded deck is.
Alright, biofuel refiner, let's go.
It was about time I figured out what the deal with biofuel was. I filled it with a bunch of raw veggies and meat, and then made a bunch of honey out of honeycomb and glass. The refiner took 2 jars of honey. Drip away, disgusting goo. I then ripped up the entire farm setup because I made 3 more small plots and they didn't fit on my wall. I ended up discovering the wall hanging trick works for chests too, so I got everything back into place nicely.
Let's check in on this. Biofuel. Is it still going? It's still going.
Looks like one full load makes 2 biofuel. Not bad.
Place biofuel. I see. I'm not going to do that yet. We'll set up a situation with a tank and all of that business.
I made a tank and a few fuel pipes, and then played around getting a feel for how the pipes work. It looks like I'll be able to make a nice little setup with this. That's in the future though, as I want to expand the raft some more and create a proper engine room. While defending my raft, I killed Shay, the shark's favorite actor Shia the shark, and then experimented with a sprinkler. These are kind of chunky, so I realized it wasn't really going to be practical for my current farm setup and packed it away for now. By day 57, the entire raft was upgraded to solid wood, so I decided it was time to think about expanding the raft some more. The problem is it was gonna cost, and I was still low on plastic. It was time for a better storage solution though, so I made a little wall here and lined it with chests. And this whole side of the wall was exclusively dedicated as a dump spot for goodies collected from the sea. I added some flowers, which I thought was a nice touch, and I had the middle rise to a little peak, where I placed the calendar on one side and the foundation counter on the other. I then began placing chests on the opposite side. These will be for more specific storage needs, like decorative items, dead batteries, and blueprints, which I don't really need, but it feels wrong throwing them away. I happened to drift right by a trading post island, so I dropped anchor and swam over, as it accumulated another 30 trash cubes, so I figured I might as well spend them. I had a vicious battle with a demon pig, grabbed some honeycombs, and then bought 20 of both tier 1 and tier 2 bait, as well as the advanced large crop plot blueprint and 60 plastic. That is how desperate I was for plastic. Though to be honest, it's a pretty good deal, as each trash cube was made of 20 to 30 palm leaves. As day 59 arrived, I returned to the island with my nets. Gotta get them bees, and gotta get them dodo idiots. Shia the shark's arch nemesis Shamu the shark attempted to eat Dodo Idiot, which was inconceivably rude behavior. I then continued working on the organization of my storage. I ended up removing the window from this wall in my production hut so I could move the chests to fit 4 vertically, and I filled out the other side of this storage area with chests galore. I decided I better replace this wall too for the sake of symmetry, and then got to expanding the raft some more. Look at this chew through my materials. I made some good progress though. Now that I had a bit of space over here, I played around with a new farm animal area. Since the spot my animals are in now is literally blocking a door, I came up with a plan to surround the entire enclosure with trees, so I designed with that in mind, and I spent ages deciding how big it would be. I also couldn't decide which fencing I liked, so I tried a bunch of things but ended up going with this. Kinda looks too fancy for an animal area, but whatever. I moved all my animals over, and to be honest, they're kinda too far away now. I don't know, it's a work in progress, we'll get there eventually. I had drifted directly into an island, so I pillaged all of its resources. I also killed Shamwow the shark, Shamu's favorite cleaning product. That was shark number 19 murdered according to my notes, by the way. That may be incorrect, but I can't be bothered counting again, so yeah, that was 19 sharks in the cemetery. Take that, great white shark population. And on day 62, I gave up my drifter's ways.
Alright, so I am bailing on trying to expand the raft because it's just like too slow. I will eventually, like my plan remains unchanged, but I feel like I want to get to the next story island. I want to progress a bit. I want to see what new stuff I unlock there.
Making the holes for the engine wheels to go in actually brought the foundation count back below 400, so I was good to go with 4 engines. And towards the blue dot I embarked. On the way, a new project took my fancy, the overhaul of the cooking area. I don't use the grills anymore, so I put those away, and I made some more cooking pots instead. I moved some storage here, and began placing even more storage up here on the wall. On day 63, I put the cooking area revamp on pause because I realized I needed to make a turn.
Oh. And it's like right there.
There it was indeed, Caravan Town. As I pulled up, an extremely territorial screecher started dropping rocks on me. While attempting to take him down, I suffered some friendly fire.
Oh, is someone shooting at me? Oh, that was my own arrow. Never mind. There we go. What's going on with those arrows?
And it was time to explore the island. Caravan Town was aptly named, as there were indeed hundreds of caravans. I explored pretty much all of them, scavenging for loot.
There's a stranger in town called Olaf something, but Olaf's boat was just filled with cages. In the cages were big rats.
So Olaf the Insane visited this island. That is a worry. The second note I found was from the same kid, and it told of an experiment to dive real deep using this bicycle-powered breathing apparatus thing. And so, of course, it was time to dive. My oxygen bottle had broken, so I was low on breath, but I found this container with an air pocket. As I followed the pipe down, I killed a couple of pufferfish and collected a few resources, before deciding I'd best return later with a fresh oxygen mask before trying to go any deeper. I wandered up the cliff face a little further, found this area reminiscent of those green dot islands I'd I'd found before.
One explosive powder.
This was yet another experiment of Deto's. This kid is clearly quite the scientist. And of course I can't wait to blow this weird rocket up. As day 64 dawned, I caught my second goat and returned to the raft for a restock. I grabbed a headlight and oxygen mask and headed back to continue diving. After even more pufferfish, as well as some choice goodies, I made my way to this shipping container. I was about 3 times deeper than I'd ever been, and I was duly rewarded. A blueprint for a metal detector, a zipline part, and the infirmary key. I then set off the rocket, and as you can see, it was a hugely successful launch. I could see something had landed on the little island over here, so I went to check it out. I found Major Tom, a glorious find, as well as a recipe for fireworks and a second zipline part.
Alright, let's put Major Tom. Get out of here.
I learned the recipe for fireworks and a metal detector, and crafted myself one of the latter in hopes I might find myself some treasure on Caravan Island. I headed over to this part of the island, which was as yet unexplored. I found a battery charger part on the docks, and man did I have a lot of deserted caravans to loot. I found another note of Deto's. This one was about some experiment attempting to stop the ocean from rising, which sounded a little ambitious, but I respect the hustle. And then I noticed these pipes everywhere.
What the heck is going on?
Clearly I need to do something with these, but I couldn't work it out, so I left them for now and continued my methodical ascent of the caravan cliff face.
Oh, here we go. Another battery charger part.
Deto's adventure journal. Pa says we have to go. Ma is getting sicker, and I heard that strange man Olaf shouting orders.
Deto hinted at a sickness sweeping the island, likely brought on by Olaf doing his weird experiments on the pigs. I came upon what felt like something of a town square, and as I parkoured about, I found my third battery charger part. I crossed this bridge over to the highest and most central structure on the island. There was a note from crazy Olaf urging everyone to attack the quote-unquote elites in their luxury city called Tangaroa. Sounds like something Olaf would do for sure. There was also a rather eerie hallway.
This looks like Hooks of the Dead, little monument kind of thingos. I need a third zipline part.
And so I was off exploring again. I wandered around for a while when I stumbled upon this well.
And there's something there that'll float up if I can fill the well up. Okay. I mean, I knew I'd probably have to come back to that pipe, but I almost forgot about it. Ah, I didn't see this before.
Somehow I'd missed the extremely obvious water pump. It was just a matter of lining up the pipes, which was a bit finicky, but I got there eventually.
There we go. Yep. There's my third zipline part.
On my way back to craft the zipline, I found heaps of caravans I hadn't yet looted. And I also remembered to use my metal detector and found this buried safe.
Oh, titanium ore and neighbor's dog. Is that a painting?
So it turns out finding treasure is quite rewarding. My first titanium ore. And yes, a neighbor's dog painting. I used the 3 pieces to make myself the zipline tool, and also received the blueprints for both ziplines and the zipline tool itself.
I'm gonna go over here first. Let's go!
There were some bees here, and a number of pigs that I began shooting arrows at as the sun rose in the distance. But before exploring this area any further, I decided to go empty my bags as I was sick of juggling inventory spots. It was a good haul of stuff, by the way, 10 biofuel. I placed the neighbor's dog artwork here so that I can admire it every time I go for a water refill. I put my 3 titanium ore onto smelt, and then I headed back up. This area was the infirmary, the key for which I got at the bottom of the ocean earlier. I grabbed a bunch of healing salves that were littered around, and found the mayor's chest key.
It's the pigs. For weeks they've acted erratic. It all started when Olaf Wilstrom arrived.
Classic Olaf, always up to funny business with animals.
Alright, down we go to the mayor's little spot. Let's go. It's a good look with the oxygen bottle as well. I can now research battery charger. Yes. I have about 500 dead batteries, so that is a win. Mayor's chest key. Engine controls. Alright, that's officially done with Caravan Town, and this is our next destination, Tangaroa.
I wrapped up my visit to Caravan Town with a treasure hunt and managed to find another buried safe. This one gave me 3 more titanium ore and 2 biofuel. I returned to the raft and picked up 3 titanium bars. I researched one and learned the recipes for the advanced collection net, which apparently holds more trash before getting full, as well as the battery charger and the engine controls. Bring on the titanium tech. And once my other 3 titanium ore were done smelting, I had enough bars to make a battery charger. It fit 2 batteries at once, and so I put some biofuel in and it began chugging away. And throughout the day, that 1 biofuel was actually good for 2 sets of batteries, fully charging 4 batteries total. Not bad, not bad. I drifted directly into a green dot island on day 69, so after killing Shamrock the shark, Shamwow the shark's mistress, I gave it a look-see. I wasn't interested in anything beyond the trading post and maybe some cheeky treasure, so I made it quick. I was back up to 30 trash cubes, so I bought 20 more tier 1 and tier 2 bait, as well as 60 plastic. I also found some treasure over here. It was a suitcase this time, which is worse than a safe I guess, as it only had 2 titanium ore in it. I found a second treasure spot and somehow dug directly into this big old rock and got myself suitcase number 2. I caught this llama.
Alright, come on buddy. Buddy, that's your name. That makes 2 llamas, 2 goats, and 2 chickens. I feel like I don't really need any more.
And so with that catch, it was animal farm complete. I now had a whopping 120 fancy bait total, 60 tier 1 and 60 tier 2. And I wasn't relishing the prospect, but it was definitely about time I got to fishing, and so I did, for 2 days straight. On the night of day 69, I fished. For the entirety of day 70, I fished.
Fishing with my flippers and my mare hat and my bottle. Fishing, creepy fishing.
And deep into the night of day 71, I kept on fishing. I burned through all that bait and caught myself 120 fish to sell next time I hit up a green dot. And that was definitely too much fishing for my liking. On the plus side, my dump chests were almost full. I had over 3 chests full of planks, and I racked up more than a chest worth of plastic too. I picked up where I left off with my cooking area revamp and made a 4th cookpot to finish off this cookpot lineup. I also put down a 2nd juicer. It's looking good, wouldn't you say, Major Tom? I headed out towards another green dot, and on the way there, I tore down this makeshift flour mill and made a more permanent setup over here. I filled my bags with 35 trash cubes and 120 fancy fish, and then headed to the island where I found the tier 2 fish give a whopping 100 reputation each. So just like that, I unlocked access to tier 3.
What can we get? Ooh. I think I just go for all of these.
I was only getting very few titanium ore from the odd treasure find, so buying a bunch made sense. I also bought blueprints for a canteen and detail plank, as well as the remaining cooking and juicing recipes available. I made myself a canteen and discovered it can fit double the water compared to a water bottle. This was a very satisfying upgrade, and great news for my hydration. On day 73, I figured I must be close to having the materials I need to perform my raft expansion, so I filled my bag with planks and plastic and gave it a crack. I made use of triangle foundations to bring the back of the raft to a point. I then randomly remembered I could now make a detail plank, so I made some and investigated.
Can I just go to heaven with this? I can just go anywhere with this now.
Yeah, so detail planks are pretty wacky. I carried on with the raft expansion and ran out of plastic when I was just 2 rows away from completion. I killed some time doing chores and let my collection nets do their thing and then kept on working.
Do we call that the back of the boat? I think we do. I think that's it.
I then crafted the engine controls. This controls all the engines at once and also the advanced anchor.
Okay, so I don't have an advanced anchor, so I can't use this yet. But does this work? That works.
I grabbed my engines and made myself a 7th engine because I've got over 600 foundations now and got to work. I took my time figuring out how to fit all 7 back here and ended up going with 2 right at the back and then a line of 5. The edge engines felt a little close to the gnawing jaws of whatever shark was currently haunting me, so I made these little protective areas. And as you can see, I left some space for fuel piping, so that was the next thing to do. I had drifted into another trading post island though, so I had a quick sojourn first. A bird idiot was dropping rocks on my head, so I hid inside the trading post, big strats, and bought the diving helmet, because I was curious to see if it was purely cosmetic or if it would actually increase my breath. I also bought as much titanium ore as I could, and then tested out my new helmet. Turns out it is indeed purely cosmetic, which is what I expected, but it was still kind of disappointing. But at least I had the opportunity to kill Shamrock the shark's son, Sham Pebble.
Nice biofuel.
I then began work on my fuel setup. I placed a fuel tank here and threaded the fuel pipes connecting all the engines to the one fuel system. Next up, it was time to figure out a setup for my new captain's area, because you know this hideous monstrosity just has to go. I wanted something centered just in front of the engines. In a feat of engineering genius, I built the ladder straight into a giant piece of wood for ease of access, before realizing I don't even want it in the middle anyway. I put 2 angled ladders on either side instead. I placed the receiver in the middle with the steering wheel and engine controls on either side, and then spent what felt an eternity trying to figure out a solution for antenna placement. I ended up putting one either side and one behind, and then I realized I'd blocked off my ladders again, so I ripped them down. I put the antenna problem on pause for a second to make a wall partitioning the engine area. For now it's just a facade, but I might turn it into an actual building at some point. I then realized I drifted into yet another trading post island. The game just really wants me to spend my trash cubes. I found some crappy treasure, and then bought an advanced scarecrow, which apparently actually works, unlike my other scarecrow that I made on like day 3. That one just mysteriously disappeared, presumed dead. I then decided I was due for another underwater collecting session. Sham Pebble the shark's mum, Sham Boulder the shark, wasn't a fan of that idea though, so I killed her. And guess what? But because I saved and quit at the end of day 78, when I opened up the world on day 79, another shark had appeared. Sherry the shark, I think his name was. Anyway, I won't argue. I go through tons of shark meat making biofuel. I was constantly using metal for tools, copper for electronics, sand for glass, clay for clay bowls, seaweed for vine goo, and scrap for about 300 different things. So this underwater scavenging session was definitely a good idea. Sherry's twin Sherry the shark bothered me before long. Honestly, sharks galore recently. I don't know what the heck's going on, but again, I won't argue. Upon attempting to disembark, I realized my raft was well and truly wedged, so I had to fire up the engines.
2, 3, 4, 5. So it fits 5 biofuel. 5 biofuel feeding into 7 engines.
Yeah, that math didn't add up, so I filled up the tank again. And I think I discovered a weird bug, because all the engines filled up, but they kept on chugging pathetically. No, I'm just kidding, there were no bugs, I'm just an idiot. I forgot to lift up the anchor. I am definitely not the cleverest baboon in the zoo. I placed another fuel tank though, and then decided to move my sail and streamer up to the command center. I'm not gonna lie, this setup makes me feel like a real captain. It was finally time to get back to figuring out these flaming antennas on day 80. I built a structure over to the left, thinking maybe I could chuck the antennas over there. And I know what you're thinking. That's a terrible idea. I agree. It didn't work. I tried multiple variations and it was a circus. Antennas too close to each other. Antenna too far away from the receiver. Antenna has mild depression and doesn't want to come into work today. I eventually gave up on that plan, so I now had the frame of some random building. I put one antenna on either side and the third one behind on a platform above the engines. The ones on either side didn't look structurally sound, and it bothered me until I remembered a most ingenious invention, the detail plank. I did some of these ones, and it at least looks like it won't fall over now, and that's good enough for me. My chests were getting kind of full, so I began a second storage wall. I also destroyed the final remnants of my starter raft. See you later, hideous towers. I moved the anchor below the captain's perch and destroyed Idiot's random wall and gave him pride of place over here. And I set up Pumbaa over here on the opposite side. Oh, and here's a paint update. We love a good paint update. I then moved the trash compactor in here, and now the deck was finally clear of random clutter. First things first, let's move the animals again. They are indeed too far away. I made the new enclosure 18 foundations in size because I had a plan. I made a bunch more dirt plots and chucked these down too, but I didn't have quite enough to fill up the area. I googled sprinklers and found out they water 9 tiles in a 3x3 area, hence the shape of this animal area. I moved all the animals over and gave it a whirl.
Yeah. It works.
I then began relocating my crop farm setup. I also had to rip down some of the random structure I built for no reason earlier. I popped old mate Advanced Scarecrow down and made 4 more medium crop plots to fill up this area. Next up was the small crop plot area, and these can of course hang off walls, so I can fit heaps in here. I ended up with a setup like this, and then I drifted into another green dot island. I bought a wardrobe, which allowed me to change into this outfit, and a small and long drawbridge, just to see what all the fuss is about. These were pretty cool, but I had no specific use for them just yet, so they went into storage. I also got the pirate hat. Next to be ripped up and relocated was my beehive setup. I made 14 small crop plots and sadly decided to rip down the remains of this monstrosity, including these levitating bits, and then began working on the new setup for the hives. This included destroying this wall, which accidentally destroyed 2 crop plots that were attached to it. That was a little bit stupid, but we press on. I made the wall bigger, made 2 more beehives, and put 12 flowers above them here. I'd hoped this would be enough to make all 4 hives produce at max, but no bingo. Plan B looked like this, a much more convoluted setup. I didn't get the positioning perfect the first time, but I eventually got it right and it actually looks kind of cool. As you can see, there's room for a 5th beehive once I find some more bees to craft one. Some seagulls bothered my flowers though, so I was deeply disappointed in my Advanced Scarecrow's efforts. To inspire him to higher heights, I moved him over a little bit. Hopefully all my crops and flowers will be in range with him centered a bit better. Next in the firing line was an expansion of my production capabilities. I made 4 biofuel refiners and 4 recyclers.
I think I may have made too many. Oh gosh. So much trash. So much trash. This is the only way to keep my chests from overflowing, to be fair, so...
The problem is I have to put all the trash in one piece at a time, so that's like 500 presses of the E key to fill all of these up, which is kind of outrageous.
Now this business is gonna require a lot of honey. I mean, I might as well use up my heads, right?
All them heads convert to biofuel in a 1-to-1 ratio, so not bad, not bad. I checked up on my beehives. The flowers seemed to be unbothered by birdies. Good job, Scarecrow. And each hive was producing 3 honeycomb. Beautiful. Now that I was using batteries for the 4 sprinklers outside, these 5 recyclers, the receiver, and juicers, I made 2 more battery chargers to keep all them batteries zappy. And here's me planting like 70 potatoes and beets. In a way, all these improvements to my raft just increase the amount of chores I have to do. to, but I was very happy. I'd come a long way since my days as a nerd drifting on a 2x2 raft with nothing but a hook. Somehow I'd actually done all the revamping I wanted to do, so I figured it was finally time to head out in search of Tangaroa. I whacked in the coordinates, fired up the engines, and off I went. As I was compacting trash, a favorite pastime of mine, I spotted this strange sight out the window. Oh, there's a golf ball. So this is Tangaroa. It's like a dome city. I was not expecting that. I was expecting like another island or something. This place looked huge, so I anticipated a long stretch off the raft. So I made some choice beverages to keep me hydrated, just in case my canteen wasn't enough. I headed off and had a celebratory Tangaroa murder of Shori the shark, Shari and Sherry's older brother, and then swam round and found this loading dock entrance. I made my way down, finding a couple of Olaf's famous crazy rats on the way, and found myself in the cafeteria. I found a note from Ruben talking about a fleet of rafts chasing Tangaroa. That must have been the caravan town people whipped into a frenzy by Olaf. Why does all the drama in this world always come back to crazy Olaf? I found 2 generator parts and then made my way to the storage area where I found a 3rd generator part. I climbed up the crane controls and placed the generator parts in here, which powered up the crane, and from there it was a fairly simple puzzle. See the tape on top of some of the containers? That indicates where missing walls are. So basically I just needed to make a line of tape all the way to the door. Once through, I found the water pipe blueprint and another note detailing the demise of Tangaroa. They ran out of fuel and the rabid rafters were upon them.
I guess I just go up this way. Okay, maybe not.
I managed to avoid drowning and found the water level had risen high enough so that I could reach the broken ladder to the plantation area. How convenient. I then found my way to the zappy waterlogged plantation.
Strawberries. Let's go.
I found a note from the plantation guy whinging about how they were running out of food, but more importantly, I found bananas. Straws and bananas, a great day indeed. From there, it was a matter of hopping between stuff to avoid getting electrocuted while I collected tape with which I fixed the door. I jumped around, found another door I needed 3 tape to fix, and then as I listened to Ruben explain that war had broken out in Tangaroa and he was cooking up a plan to escape, I emerged into brilliance. The interior of a golf ball. This was a land full of butler bots that tried to electrocute me and bougie apartment buildings to explore and loot. The butler bots dropped these key cards, and that's how I gained access to most of the buildings. In my adventures, I found tons of tape, which I'll need back downstairs, and also a bunch of vending machine coins. Most of the apartments had weirdly taped up rooms, which I accessed with my machete. These invariably had a safe with some juicy loot like biofuel or titanium ore.
Can I open this? Well, that is very convenient. That is literally going onto my raft. In fact, it would be foolish of me not to make the most of this opportunity.
I now had gloriously easy access to my raft for dumping stuff and restocking, which made the rest of my time at Tangaroa that much more convenient. This futuristic yet post-apocalyptic nightmare of a city was really cool. I kept exploring and came to realize there were plenty of opportunities for parkour. Some apartments that weren't accessible by elevator, I accessed by zipline and elite jumping skills. Speaking of elite jumping skills, I had a doozy while attempting to scale aircon units and I fell like 8 stories and somehow took less than half my health in damage. I guess that's my enormous thighs coming in clutch. I knew I needed to get into this big old tower in the middle, and I could see a zipline going to it from one of the apartment buildings, so I had some sense of my objective. And by the evening of day 90, I had done my loop of all the streets with apartment buildings, so it was time to check out the center of the city. I found another note from Ruben indicating he'd teamed up with Dedo, the scientific whiz kid from Caravan Town. I also found where to spend all those vending machine coins I'd been collecting. I bought a whole dang piano for 8 coins, and some Tangaroa style paintings and Tangaroa plants.
Can't believe there's a flaming piano in this game, and it actually works.
After indulging in some Mozart level piano brilliance, I headed back into the belly of Tangaroa to make use of the bounty of tape I'd been collecting. I used 3 to fix one door, found some more bananas and strawberries, happy days, and then 3 more to fix the elevator door.
Electric purifier. Oh. So, I think that's all of the downstairs unlocked. And now I've got this elevator. I don't know which tower this is.
This tower was the scene of someone's birthday. I did some more parkour and ziplined over to this building, which had a multi-level bar restaurant type vibe. And there were tons of vending machine coins in here, which was juicy. I climbed a few flights of stairs and finally I was ziplining to the middle building.
We're heading up the big blue ladder. The big blue ladder. Oh crap. I fell down off the big blue ladder.
I headed up an elevator and discovered the large storage blueprint, as well as this note.
Oh, I see. This is the code.
I headed down to street level, used some more coins to buy the rest of the paintings from this vending machine, and then went and found all of the buildings hinted at by the beautiful drawings in the note I found. It was a simple matter of figuring out the street number of each building, and thereby figuring out the code.
4813. What the heck is going on? Whoa! What just launched? Better not have hit my raft.
I ran around like a confused goose for a bit, and then...
I should not have gotten on the dome just then. I've made a grave mistake.
It was worth it for this view though. I then slid on my butt all the way into the water, and fortunately the enormous golf ball wasn't too slippery, so somehow I didn't end up dead. I went off in search of whatever had just launched, and saw this floating in the water. Turns out the entire bridge of the ship had ejected. I climbed in and found a token Aussie character named Elaine.
You there! Get me out of this thing!
She was a massive bogan, and she turned into a golden beam of light. Good stuff, bogan lady.
Varuna. Oh, there's our next location, Varuna Point. And water tank. Let's go, baby.
There was a safe of goodies too, and a note from Captain Tully acknowledging his part in the doom of Tangaroa as an unsustainable experiment and ultimately a failure. That's what you get for trying to hang on to your luxury lifestyle in a water apocalypse, I guess. And just like that, I was done with Tangaroa.
Bye, golf ball. See you later.
With what remained of day 92, I resumed drifting and got on top of my neglected chores. And as always, it was a good feeling to be back on the raft.
Alright, water pipe. Nice. Large storage. Very nice. Water tank. Nice. Electric purifier. Nice.
The large storage was indeed large, but it only fit double what a chest fits, despite being like 300 times the size. I was not a fan, so I didn't bother using it. The electric purifier, on the other hand, was quite majestic. It vacuumed seawater up on its own and worked away purifying, and it fit 15 cups of water, 3 times more than the advanced purifiers. I ended up making 2, one to replace the old purifying setup, and one over here near the farms. I made a water tank too, and with this I could set up an automatic water feed to the sprinklers if I wanted, using pipes. I decided not to, because I have to change the sprinklers batteries anyway, so while I'm doing that I might as well fill up with water too, and save the mess of a fat water tank and 300 pipes. As day 94 dawned, I had over 100 trash cubes. That is a lot. And here began a stretch of time where all chores were left undone as I focused on a new project, building a home. I toyed with a few ideas but ended up going with a simple hut straight onto the deck. I made myself a feathery paintbrush and played around with paint for the first time. And as you can see, all the painting I did was hideous, so eventually I just turned the whole thing back to default colors. But before I did that, I began decorating. Some fancy Tangaroa paintings on the wall, some choice lighting, some plants out the front. I built this thingy on the roof, I don't know what you'd call that, but it made the building look less boring, I guess. The white roof still looks hideous though, but don't worry, I got rid of that eventually. My elite shelf decorating skills were on display, and I placed a lovely fireplace as well as these motivational quotes with hilarious raft puns. Seize the day. Live, laugh, sail. Raft, sweet raft. I fixed the stinky roof and then gave some texture to the outside walls with some shelving, another hilarious motivational quote, and some string lights.
It's not bad. It's a nice little interior. There's literally no bed in here though, so it's not really my house, is it?
Yeah, so after all that, I didn't even leave space for a bed, which I guess is appropriate since I never sleep anyway. Also, it's in kind of a random spot, but I think it'll feel more natural once I've got a bunch of trees up around the farm area, and once I develop more of a distinct path that leads to it, if that makes sense. I made some lighting which I sprinkled around the place, and then remembered I have banana and strawberry seeds, so I planted all the straws in small plots, and one banana tree in my lonesome large plot. I drifted into a little island, so I figured I might as well quickly head underwater for a cheeky dip with my hook, but it was kind of slim pickings, which was a bit sad. I did at least kill Shamozzle the shark, Shori the shark's great-great-great-great-great-great-grandmother. I then randomly remembered bird nests are a thing in this game, so I made 8 of them for some reason. 8 is way too many, but whatever. And I figured they'd want to nest up high, so I made this ridiculous tower and put some bird nests on top of it. It worked. The seagulls were nesting. I then tried to cover the tower in palm leaf walls, but I could only reach halfway up. So yeah, it kind of looked a bit janky, but whatever. I now had seagulls nesting, which actually makes no sense because those idiot seagulls try to eat my crops, so I don't know why I'm giving them a home. I set out for a green dot and did a bunch of chores on the way.
Alright, let's have a look up in these birds' nests. Do these seagulls lay eggs or something? Oh, I can't reach. That's a sad development.
After actually finishing the ladder of my weird two-tone tower, I discovered the seagulls leave behind feathers. So I guess that's a cheeky way of getting feathers without having to murder screeches. I then tried to fix the tower by building some scaffolding so I could reach the top half, but it proved difficult, so I gave up and headed onto the island once I arrived. I bought 20 of each tier's bait, a surfboard, and 15 scrap. I also bought a Viking horn and tic-tac-toe board before entirely running out of trading coins. I put the surfboard up here. Clearly one of my many shark enemies had taken a bite out of it, which was hardcore. And I put the Viking horn here. And I put the tic-tac-toe board over here. It only let me place 3 X's and 3 O's though, so I couldn't really defeat myself, so I guess it's a draw. I then expanded the front of the raft out a little. I didn't really have anything particular in mind for this space, but I wouldn't mind expanding forward a bit. Come to think of it, I'd also like to build vertically some more as well. It's literally day 99 and I haven't built a single zip line on my raft because it's just such a flat raft. And on day 100, I decided I'd better fish up some of them fancy fish. Except like 2 seconds later, I arrived at another green dot island. This island had 2 safe treasure spots, which was pretty lucky, and the second safe had an EDM cassette, which was particularly interesting. I'd noticed back on Tangaroa you can buy a radio boombox looking thing, so maybe you can play the cassette using that. I sold the few fish I'd managed to catch, bought 20 more of each bait, as well as a compass and some more titanium ore. It's day 101 and the endless drift continues. I whacked some beets on to cook into veggie soup and continued fishing up them fancy sea creatures. And suddenly I stumbled upon a strange sight.
What is this in the sky? Have I just stumbled into the story island accidentally?
I wasn't planning on continuing the story just yet, but who am I to argue with the power of drift?
I did not aim my it's just literally downwind.
So just like that, Varuna Point, here we go. I made ready my inventory, grabbing tools and supplies and whatnot, and before long it was obvious I'd arrived at a half-submerged, fully abandoned construction site. I fluffed around doing some chores and then made the questionable decision to disembark just as night fell.
There's some serious underwater business going on here. Very interesting. Guess I better deal with you, my friend.
My friend here was Shamoozle the shark's pet cow, and he gave me some trouble because I hadn't played Raft for over a month at this point, so I was a bit rusty when it came to stabbing sharks in the eyeball. I even had to use some health salves, but I got there eventually.
I've got these bubble spots here that give me breath, so that's positive. These jellyfish look zappy. Are these ones zappy? No, these ones are friendly. How far down can I go?
This was indeed a huge underwater area, and quite pretty with all the colors. I began poking around, collecting what I could and sussing out areas of interest.
I found a G. What does G mean? Keep getting those tremors. Goodness me.
Those tremors were a constant as I explored, and I had a feeling they foreshadowed something monstrous.
I can go so far down. There's another G. What do the G's mean? Oh, motherlode key.
I eventually headed back to the first crack in this building, where I spotted yet another strange G and found myself a construction helmet. And as day 102 dawned, I finally noticed the gap directly above, blocked by some oscillating zappy zap jellyfish. I timed my entry and in I went.
Varuna Point has all too many holes in it. It makes it easy to move unnoticed. Today, I nicked a hammer. Yesterday, I took some dried meat from the foreman's stash. I want to grab something even better tonight.
So this construction site is haunted by the aptly named grabber who likes to grab. Maybe that's what the G stands for.
And back in this room, I saw something really scary. What are you?
The anglerfish was indeed nightmare fuel, but it was pretty easy to defeat.
Yeah, boy.
I continued exploring, and in this room with anglerfish number 2, I found my first story item for Varuna Point, a spotlight part. I found a bunch of goodies lying around too, and then my second spotlight part. I then spotted this elevator shaft, through which I swam to the floor above. I found spotlight part number 3 and a second note. This one was the grabber boasting about how good he is at grabbing. What a legend. I scoured the level, and once satisfied I'd picked it clean, I headed back to the raft where I emptied my bags, put some seaweed onto Gooify, and trash onto Compact. I waited around for several batches of vine goo to be ready, and with these I crafted flippers and oxygen bottles. Since this area was entirely underwater, at least so far, I was gonna need plenty of these, and what I'd been wearing had already broken. Once I had 2 of each on me, I headed back out, straight into the jaws of Sharkira, Shamoozle's favorite pop star. I broke said jaws immediately.
This 4 spotlight parts. I've only got 3. Okay, I need to find 2 more spotlight parts.
Like the video if you agree that I am a mathematical genius. And here began my long-suffering search for the remaining spotlight part. I tried deeper with no luck, although I did see some pretty blue jellies. I retraced my steps, or should I say I retraced my swim strokes, hoping to find something I'd missed, and no luck.
Could it be in here? What the heck is that? Oh, there's spikes.
That room was indeed very spiky, but it lacked spotlight parts, which was rude. I managed to find some goodies I'd missed, so that was something, but by the time day 104 dawned, I was going slightly insane.
Get out of the way, jellyfish.
And then, back in the first building, I discovered an entire above water area that I'd completely missed.
Oh, hello. Hello. I think I figured it out. Hey, 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 hey. Alright. So now I can turn this on and I think it'll make the jellyfish move. Yeah. Get out of my way, zappy idiots. Alright, can I go this way? Door's locked from the other side. Making progress, baby. Let's go.
This area felt like it was well and truly the grabber's domain, assuming he's the bloke that put up all the spikes.
What's with the spikies, man? Ow.
Another note from the grabber told of the workers abandoning the construction site as the water rose, heading out in search of the fabled utopia.
As long as I live, no one will claim my treasure. No one will reach my nest.
No one will reach your nest. I'm gonna reach your nest. Your spiky traps can't stop me, mate. Also, you left a bunch of G's that I can follow.
The grabber's booby traps became more elaborate. This first tripwire got me.
Ah! You cheeky bugger.
But I navigated my way past the next few with some choice jumping. I parkoured through this nonsense, climbed these ramps, parkoured through some more nonsense.
That is a big old... That's terrifying. Except it's only in the middle, so I'm good.
And finally, progress. I grabbed this advanced headlight blueprint and the motherlode key.
I would be bored these days if the motherlode wasn't on the forefront of my mind. The water stole it from me. Now there's trouble in the way. It's risky to deal with, but it might be worth it. But it's just one shark. How hard could it be?
I don't know why I was having so much trouble climbing those crates, but either way, the grabber's warning is ominous. A shark of some kind is protecting the motherlode. I exited via that spiky room I found earlier and headed straight down to the motherlode door. I killed a couple of anglerfish on my way down before finding myself at another crosswalk.
Crossing back over to the other building. This looks like the motherlode. Oh. Oh my gosh. Oh my. What the hell? Alright, I'm running back here. You see how big that thing was? I need to breathe.
Yeah, so that's a big shark. Now I know what was causing all those tremors. It was Fathead McGee donking his noggin on the walls. I tried to get into a fight with the big fella and I think it went pretty well.
Ow! That didn't do much damage to me, somehow. He just broke open that wall, I think. Oh, he's back.
I discovered these areas with air pockets around the edge of the room, so I noodled around trying to figure out how I was supposed to fight the demon shark.
Playing cat and mouse with the biggest shark I've ever seen in my life. Alright, run.
I eventually noticed a pile of barrels in the middle of the room, and when I headed to investigate, I ended up in a game of run around the pole with the shark. Eventually, he charged straight into the pole, shattering the concrete. Keep in mind, this is of course all happening underwater, so my breath was constantly running out. I grabbed one of the barrels.
What am I doing? Okay. I think I've sort of figured out what I'm trying to do. Alright, let's just get him to break the poles. Come on, big boy. Break the pole. He missed. What are you doing, mate?
As he broke each pole, I chucked these explosive barrels in the wreckages.
I'm so slow.
The problem was, all my flippers and oxygen bottles were now broken, so I was rather slow and low on breath.
If I get him to run into this... Okay. Does that mean I'm free? Oh my gosh, there's more explosive stuff.
So I had placed barrels into all 4 pillars, but I only needed to do 1. It's fine, we made it 1 level up either way.
I wish my flippers didn't break. This is so hard without flippers.
This next level was the same deal, except it took 2 headbutts to make the pole vulnerable.
Here he is. Ah! Here we go. Alright, looks like there's one more pole. The pole to end all poles.
And this level was hard. My relatively short breath timer and my extremely slow swimming were deadly.
This is so stressful. What are they doing to me? Oh gosh. I just got yeeted.
I managed to get the big buffer to charge the pole once, and then I swam all the way over here to get my breath back.
Come on. Yes. Alright, we did some more damage. Maybe one more hit.
And a third time.
Alright, good. Just need the barrel. Just need the barrel.
I got whacked across the room a few times attempting to get a barrel up there, but I eventually did. But the shark was just not cooperating.
Where is he? Oh, there he is. Oh, he missed me. And he missed the pole. Try again. Come on. Come on, I'm running out of breath. I'm running out of breath, dude. Please. Hello? Please. This guy. I'm literally gonna die. Oh my gosh. No! Lose 2/3 of inventory. Are you serious? World saved. Waiting for rescue. Okay.
So yeah, I died. My first death in this world. I lost a bunch of goodies, as well as durability to all my tools. Which is a bummer, but I can always replace them, so no big deal. The problem was I had an extreme lack of seaweed. I didn't have enough to craft replacement flippers and oxygen bottles, and there was no way I was heading back to that boss fight without them. And so I had to leave on a quest for seaweed. I patched up the perimeter of my raft and did some chores as I drifted, and before long I arrived at a green dot island. This island had a very crappy underwater area though, devoid of delicious seaweed, so I was disappointed. I did at least get to murder Shamalama Ding Dong the shark, Shakira's pet budgie, so that was some consolation. And I collected everything underwater regardless, because it is still useful even if it isn't seaweed. I also dug dirt, found treasure, poked the bear, found trash treasure, and sold a bunch of fancy fish to the trading post. I bought a bunch more bait, titanium ore and scrap, an air horn, some chili, a fishing hat, and some sunnies.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, let's go. Air horn can go here. I don't know why. That's a good find. I approve. What a most excellent air horn.
I put a spicy pineberry beverage in the juicer to mix, as this gives a swim speed buff that I reckon would be handy fighting the big boy shark. I then acted on some advice from a commenter who told me that wool fills up recycling machines very quickly. 2 wool equals 1 trash cube. This was wonderful news. Before long, I pulled up at a small island, and this one had an okay underwater area, but it only netted me 9 seaweed. I needed like 40, so that was a slow start. I forged onward to yet another green dot island where I got farted on.
Ah! He got me. Snuck up on me. Am I gonna die? There's a lot of seaweed.
I collected through till day 108, and you can tell that I recorded this around Christmas time.
Yes, I'm running out away. Rocking around the Christmas tree.
I ran around to the other side of the island where I had another near fart encounter and collected the daylight hours away. I also hit up the trading post where I bought yet more bait. Spoiler alert, I bought way too much bait, as well as titanium ore. This island served me up a juicy haul of seaweed, and so it was time to return to Varuna Point. I kept busy on the way. There's always work to be done on the raft, and after a 4-day hiatus in search of seaweed, I returned to the abandoned construction site.
I just realized, I'm pretty sure I can get up there with the scaffolding. How did I not realize I can get up there?
This story area wasn't entirely underwater after all. I found one of Olaf's rats up here, as well as another note from the grabber hinting that Bruno, the crazy guy from Bear Island, had visited Varuna Point briefly. And honestly, Grabber and Bruno sounds like a glorious crossover. I climbed all the way up the scaffolding, and then up the crane ladder, and discovered I needed a crane key. I also found a blueprint for the electric grill, and another note from the grabber. This one detailing that Ruben and Detto had visited Varuna Point too. I'm pretty sure all these characters are trying to get to Utopia, so maybe I'll see them all there one day. For now though, there was nothing else for me up here, so I ziplined down. Whee! And I returned to fight the big chonker.
Alright, I'm gonna drink this. Am I swimming faster? Yeah, I am. I'm swimming pretty fast. So, I'm feeling good. Alright, he's here, he's here. Come on, mate. Come on. Come on. What are you doing? Stop goofing around. Is he dead? He's dead. I can't believe how close I was. I had one more thing to do. He's giving me a lot of shark meat. That's biofuel for days. Rhino shark trophy. Let's go.
So after 4 days of seaweed-obsessed gallivanting across the entire ocean, it turned out I only needed one more hit and the big buffer keeled over. Oh well, I'll take it. I swam up and through to the grabber's headquarters.
Wind turbine. Crane key. Yeah, nice, nice. Wind turbine charges batteries with wind power. Oh, nice, nice, nice. All right, we did it. Now how do I get out of here?
I swam out through the giant hole in the wall the rhino shark created, and then sang this banger of a song.
Up we go, climb into the crane, climb into the crane, we go, 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 go in the yellow tube ladder thing. That was one of my worst songs ever. Oh, here we go. Oh! Okay. Yeah, I just made a big hole. Let's go to the hole.
Whee! I scrambled down this absolute mess and made my way to this room, where I found a blueprint for advanced batteries, very juicy, as well as coordinates to my next destination.
We know where we're going next. We're going to Temperance. We did it. It took us 2 attempts over like 10 days. But we did it.
I then placed my rhino shark trophy.
Oh yeah.
I grabbed some metal and fortified the foundations, as this means sharks can't chew on them, and this will ensure that no jealous sharks destroy my trophy. And I was very pleased to have this big boy showing off my battle prowess right at the front of the raft.
Absolutely beautiful. Absolutely beautiful.
Subscribe if you're grateful I resisted using the rhino shark as a punchline for a your mum joke. Anyway, now that I had your mum strung up in all her glory on the front of my raft, it was back to drifting. I researched my new recipes at the research table and added another beehive to the setup.
5 beehives, 5 beehives, 5 beehives.
I drifted right next to an island, and since I've got a lot of adventuring ahead, I decided to hit up the underwater area. Metal, copper, seaweed, clay, sand, scrap, all of these are invaluable resources for about 100 different things, so it's a no-brainer. While out, I macheted Shampoo the Shark, Shamalama Ding Dong's favorite beauty product. After a successful swim, it was back to drifting, and it was time to finally finish up the engine room. On advice from some commenters, I now knew horizontal supports could be used as a basis to place vertical levels of flooring, meaning I didn't need to put pillars up everywhere. This was wonderful news, and it unlocked plenty of options for building vertically for the rest of the run. For now, it meant I could put a roof on the engine room, which would also function as flooring for another level of the raft. Basically, you've just got to space out the horizontal supports every 2 blocks, and then you'll be able to place all the flooring you need. They cost nails though, so they churn through the scrap. All this solid flooring costs heaps of planks too, so I ran completely dry, which put a pause on the project. Another day, another island, and I actually chopped down the trees on this one, which shows just how desperate I was for planks.
Give me them planks.
I also killed Shoo the Shark, Shampoo the Shark's favorite item of clothing. I hoovered up the ocean floor's bounty and then returned to drifting. I found another stack of wool to recycle, and I also recycled my leather because I had lots, so I figured why not. I then grabbed a big stack of metal bars and began fortifying the back of the raft. A decent plank stockpile had replenished, so I got back to work completing the engine room. I made these antenna platforms a little less hideous, which included removing the detail planks and using support beams instead, and I repositioned the sail here. I also got some more flooring down, collected a glorious bounty of extra planks from the collection nets, and placed down most of the walls before running out of planks yet again. Fortunately, there's plenty to keep me occupied, staying on top of the raft's organization, and before long I had another round of net collection to keep me going. So I got a lot more done, but once again I ran dry of plankage. On day 114, I drifted into a trading post island, so I pillaged it for all it was worth, and as well as the usual titanium ore and scrap purchase, I grabbed some metal ore too, as I needed heaps to finish fortifying the raft. I made some more dirt plots, with which I filled this gap in the animal farm, and continued fortifying the raft's edge.
I like this as my front. I think I want to change this a little bit.
Previously, I'd extended out the entire front of the raft, but with the addition of old mate Rhino Shark dangling in the middle, I decided I wanted to switch it up. And finalizing the perimeter was crucial, as my intention was to fortify everywhere, so I needed to make up my mind. I ended up with this design, which I think looks much better, if only because it's more intentional. I then finally finished up the engine room, except this random spot was giving me trouble. It wouldn't let me place a foundation for some reason.
Why can't I put a piece here? It makes no sense.
While trying to sort it out, I got distracted by another island. On my swim over, I fought Chardonnay the shark, Shu the shark's favorite beverage. I spent all night collecting underwater, and on day 116, I availed myself of the island's finest timber. I placed 20 more foundation armor and then solved the puzzle of the stubborn missing piece, and with that, the engine room was finally complete. I also placed some stairs on either side, which took a little bit of finagling, but I got there eventually, and I think the symmetry is golden. I fortified a little more with some freshly smelted metal, and then considered placing railings around the edge up here, but ultimately decided against it as it felt unnecessary. I finally investigated the new recipes I'd unlocked after Varuna Point. I made myself a wind turbine, and this big boy charges 4 batteries at once, making use of renewable wind energy. How very sustainable. I wanted to make some advanced batteries too, but I needed copper bars and I was fresh out. I had 49 copper ore to smelt, but I was too busy smelting metal so I could finish fortifying the foundations.
1, 2, 3. Fully fortified. Let's go.
And now it doesn't matter how many generations of sharks you throw at me, my raft is officially inedible. I drifted upon another island, so I had yet another relaxing time collecting materials, with a short break to murder Shambles the shark, Chardonnay the shark's general state of being. Once back on the raft, it was chores as usual, including making use of goat's milk for biofuel. And I decided my smelting operation was simply too slow. So I crafted a bunch of wet bricks and placed them on the deck to dry. I made another wind turbine, kept the trash cube machines chugging along, and once the bricks were dry, I made some space by getting rid of these outdated battery chargers, built some more smelters and chucked them down. I also had my inaugural usage of this wind turbine to recharge the trash compactor batteries. I drifted into yet another island, so you know what that means. Also, rest in peace, Shimmy the shark, Shambles' favorite dance move. I also dried 20 more bricks and made 2 more smelters, bringing my smelter count up to 10. I then killed Mr. Schneebly the shark, Shimmy the shark's favorite character from Jack Black's classic movie School of Rock. And I collected goodies from yet another little island. My next drift victim was this big trading post island where I grabbed some dirt, made some choice purchases, and dug up some crappy treasure. And I don't know what came over me, but for some reason I chose not to gather the underwater materials from this island. Outrageous, I know. And on day 120, I made a discovery.
Yes, the ropes definitely fill it up much faster. This is an improved strategy. Oh, they fill it up way faster.
Twice as fast as palm leaves to be precise, since ropes take 2 palm leaves to craft. I've previously been getting rid of my palm leaves one at a time, which meant 120 presses of the E button per trash compactor, so this was an improvement. I also chucked in a bunch of plastic as I had relatively few uses for it at this point. I then began work completing the border of trees around the animal farm, except I made a mistake.
Oh no. No.
I accidentally made large crop plots rather than advanced large crop plots, which was a massive waste of nails, and nails are at a premium. I consoled myself by picking bare this underwater zone and killing Shirley the shark, Mr. Schneebly's granddaughter, and later Arthur Shelby the shark, Shirley's favorite Peaky Blinder.
Stabbed! And then sliced!
I then made some of the correct large crop plots and got to work.
Cool. Alright, so I'll just do a random array of trees. So 5 there, so I need 5 more, and then I can probably fit 1, 2, probably fit 5 there as well. I think I need 10 more.
Fortunately, I had a fair bit of scrap stockpiled, so I turned a bunch of it into nails, as each of these costs 12. I placed down 5 more on the opposite side. I drifted into another island, so I collected some materials and then made myself an electric grill.
How many potatoes can I cook at once with this thing? Steal the battery from here. 6 at once. There's no beating the veggie soup though, so pointless.
Pointless indeed. So I put this grill in a chest since I'd rather just use the cooking pots. I placed 3 more tree plots at the back of the animal farm, and I think it looks quite nice. It certainly livens up the place having a bunch of trees around.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Woo! Look at that big boy battery. Let's go.
Those 10 advanced batteries cost me 40 titanium ingots. Pretty expensive, but definitely worth it as they hold 3 times the charge of the smaller simple batteries. I chugged along with the chores, and on the night of day 122, I spruced up the cottage's entrance a little. I placed a fence as well as some grass plots, which I think was quite an inspired design choice if I may say so myself. I also made a 3rd wind turbine and placed it in the center here, completing my battery charging setup. I placed some lanterns and fought Shiva the shark, namesake of a Hindu deity that Arthur Shelby the shark has never heard of, before whacking my big metal hook on some underwater goodies. I was fresh out of trading coins by this point, so I decided it was time to fish up some fancy fish.
Time for some fishing next to my best friend, Fathead. Check out my running technique. You gotta get those knees high when you're wearing flippers. Lift the knee, lift the knee.
I spent the rest of the day fishing, and that night hit up a green dot island where I collected a bunch of stuff before selling all the fish and making the usual titanium ore and scrap purchases.
It's about time we hit up another destination. Temperance. Let's go to Temperance. 3324.
So I pointed myself at the blue dot about 2 kilometers away and whacked on the engine, making sure to fill my tanks with biofuel. On the way there, I cooked a bunch of veggie soup to restock my food supply, and I also decided this big stupid tower was big and stupid, so I tore it down, which was actually kind of nice because I got a bunch of materials back.
Alright, well that's gone now. RIP hideous tower.
I continued cooking up soup, and I also made some choice beverages as hydration is indeed a worthy concern.
Oh. What is that? That looks frosty. We can see it in the peripheral. There's laser beams shooting at the sky. That is definitely snow. Like ice shelf. Well, we made it to Temperance. It's snowing.
I equipped myself appropriately and headed out to Frosty Town.
This place looks huge. It's so cool. So frosty.
I aggressively yoinked an electrical cable from this tower thingo and made my way over to this abandoned weird igloo village, where I yoinked some more electrical cables.
Hold up. Ooh, let's go.
Before taking the snowmobile for a proper spin, I investigated the village some more. I found I could attach the electrical cables to these power pole thingos, so I began connecting them.
Oh, okay. I need more cables. I've run out. I've used 4, so I need to go salvage more from somewhere. Vending machine token. That's from Tangaroa. What? So I don't think there's anything to do in this town except connect the electrical stuff.
I did discover this nearby bunker though, which had weird green radioactive goopy stuff, so I couldn't enter without taking damage.
I need some kind of protective gear to go down there.
I headed out in search of more electrical cables.
Oh baby, that's a polar bear. Holy crap. Oh, he did a lot of damage to me.
I collected electrical cables from 3 more towers and then stumbled upon this observatory.
Note.
I've already lost Miranda. I will not lose you too, Henry. The 2 of us have followed a signal path. No, it's from my sister. There's no doubt. Henry is skeptical.
Oh my
He thinks
gosh.
the cold will be dangerous.
I can't believe I didn't fall in. I think I was supposed to fall in. My reflexes are too razor sharp. And that was Bruno. Bruno made it here. Bruno's the crazy guy from Balboa Island. The Bear Island. Door is locked from the other side. I mean, I think I have to go in the hole anyway.
I headed down and found I had to swim in this icy water infested by anglerfish. But once through, I climbed this giant ladder up to the ground floor of the observatory, where I found a bunch of loot and another note. It was a rather cryptic post-it note with a picture of a scrap hook. I headed upstairs and found another post-it note, and right up top, I found yet another post-it note, a keypad locked safe, and the controls to the telescope.
Oh, Henry.
The boat is ready to go. Detto is ready with the air horn, and Ruben can at least walk.
Ruben as well.
Henry is staying behind. It's bittersweet. Detto says there's a place with lots of people.
That's crazy. Bruno ended up with Detto and Ruben, and they're all on their way to try find the people they're missing. Beautiful to behold. And clearly Bruno's mind is repairing a bit. He's no longer hearing voices from Henry. But it's nice to meet you, Henry. You have a nice square head.
And I found a 4th post-it note.
Number 1 is like a weird, one of the dodo bird thingos. Number 2 is a pufferfish. Number 3 is the scrap hook. Number 4 is the raft. What does this mean?
That was indeed the question. I noticed these constellation posters had numbers written on them, but I couldn't grasp what they represented. I played around with the telescope, admiring the galaxy and its raft-themed constellations, and I knew I needed to get the code for the keypad from all of these clues, but it took me a while to piece it together.
Oh, hang on. I think I figured it out. 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so the number relates to how many stars are in the constellation. Alright, for the pufferfish, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I think that's the raft, that's 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 for the hook. The weird dodo, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Counting the number of stars corresponding to each post-it note got me the 4-digit code I needed.
There we go. Alright, Celine key, some more vending machine tokens, advanced stationary anchor. Oh, sick, that's the anchor that you can control using the engine controls. So that's going to be very handy to upgrade the raft.
I decided to hold off investigating the skyward beams of light and instead return to the village with the 6 electrical cables I'd gathered. I connected a bunch more power poles, but something wasn't adding up.
I've connected all the cables, I think, but so what? Oh, I need to connect it to here as well. I totally missed this note.
Detto showed me and Henry some abandoned igloos. The boy got them open by fiddling with some cables. The big igloo is still shut though.
I stole the last cable in the line and used it to connect everything to the generator, and some of the village came alive.
Does that mean I can get in to these places? Oh, I can. It's a gym.
I looted all the igloos, collecting a good range of materials and some vending machine coins too, but I was just one electrical cable short of powering up the big igloo, so I headed off to find one. I had a vicious battle with another polar bear.
Yeah, kind of epic in the snow.
I found another radioactive bunker, and I found a couple more towers with polar bears for me to brawl. Ugh!
He didn't even notice me.
And electrical cables for me to yoink.
Polar bear, polar bear. Polar bear. This to this. Alright, we're into the big igloo. Okay. Oh, you can use the tokens here. Alright, how many vending machine coins do I have? 14 again. Alright, let's give me one of those penguin things. Give me one of those mugs.
I then realized my bags were extremely full, so I resisted buying anything else just yet. I wandered upstairs and found the advanced biofuel refiner blueprint, as well as a bunch more loot. I then decided to dump a bunch of stuff to make space in my bags, and I bought one of everything from the vending machines, some rugs, paintings, and plants. And off I went to dump my bag load at the raft.
Oh gosh. Did it just disappear? Damn it.
I guess I'm running to find my raft. And it was definitely one of those I can't for the life of me remember where I parked my raft situations, but I found it eventually. I placed some of the decorative items here just to check them out, and then placed the Dome Sweet Dome welcome mat down in front of the cottage, and a bunch of the plants arrayed on the grass here. I placed a couple of the paintings too. I dumped, restocked, and headed back out. After the devastating dematerialization of my previous snowmobile, I had to find myself another, which I used to make this sick jump.
Yeah, let's go.
There was some loot up here, but nothing too exciting. I headed up to the nuclear power plant.
Requires one blowtorch. Where on earth? I'm almost certain I didn't miss anything at the observatory, but I maybe missed something at the igloo. Oh, yeah, okay. There's the blowtorch. It's just sitting on the table right where that blueprint was.
All right, now let's try that again.
Boing, 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 boing. All right, let's blowtorch this. A levitating blowtorch. Goodness gracious me.
I used the Selene key, and in I went while slurping on a tropical bevy. It definitely had the appearance of something nuclear gone wrong down here.
Insert control rods.
I was sent to Selene alongside 2 colleagues, one of which I discovered was a mole by the investors.
Sparrow was from all the way back at the radio tower, the very first story location. Evidently, she made it all the way here to work on the power source. I donned a glorious hazmat suit and headed down into the radioactive depths. There were 3 terminals with symbols for specific elements written next to them, and conveniently, there were posters up showing the atomic numbers. You may be disappointed to find out I don't have the periodic table memorized, so these posters were a godsend. I had a 25-second window in which to punch in all the codes, and the door unlocked. Down the hallway, I found my first control rod.
Look at this, man. Oh, there's like giant bugs in there. What is this, Fallout?
I chucked on another hazmat suit and climbed down to an area where I had to endlessly turn this valve while being assaulted by mutant bugs. And once I got the door open, I found control rod number 2. The final stretch before control rod number 3 was a series of laser plus mirror puzzles that I used to open doors. This first one was pretty simple, but the next one was a bit more elaborate. It was ultimately pretty straightforward though, as I rotated these mirrors until the door gave way. I grabbed the final control rod and another note. Sparrow explained that the power source being developed here was meant to power the floating cities like Tangaroa, but they needed more people to help develop a working reactor. She wondered if the people at the mysterious Utopia might be able to help, but she'd heard worrying news. One Olaf Wilkstrom had descended upon the place. Bad news indeed, as we all know Olaf is an evil goose on the loose. All the control rods were in place, but they got stuck somehow, so I had to head down into the belly of the reactor to sort it out. There were a few easily dispatched bugs, and then it was just a matter of lowering all 3 control rods into place.
And in you go, number 3. Is this gonna fix the meltdown? It did. Yeah, it did. Nice.
I'm pretty sure I just solved the energy crisis. You're welcome. I wandered down this frosty hallway and found the final room of this story location.
Okay. Utopia. Electric smelter, yes. Don't have to use infinite planks to fuel my smelting anymore. Looks like it fits 3 things at once as well. So good. Nice, nice, nice. Oh, what the heck? Old mate was in cryo sleep or something. Another playable character. Shogo, the golden beam of light. Here he goes, here he goes.
And with that I was done, and I had the coordinates for Utopia, where I'm hoping I'll finally catch up to Olaf so I can slap him silly. I paid a visit to those 2 bunkers I'd found earlier, and they were now radiation free. They had a bunch of loot for me, including some titanium ore, which is always a juicy find.
This thing goes vertical. That's glorious.
I dematerialized a second snowmobile and returned to my raft after a successful expedition at the frosty Isle of Temperance.
Electric smelter. Let's go. Advanced biofuel. Sweet. Advanced stationary anchor. Beautiful.
I made myself an advanced stationary anchor, which I placed down.
Now this drops the anchor. Beautiful, very convenient.
I also made an advanced biofuel refiner, and this can connect straight into the fueling system via pipes. It holds a lot more honey and raw food too, so my guess is it produces 5 or 6 biofuel containers worth. And since it pumps the fuel directly into the engines, it obviously saves me the trouble of manually inserting fuel, although I do have tons of biofuel lying around if I need it. And I made a second one, finalizing my fuel setup. I also crafted 40 wet bricks, as I need 10 dry bricks per smelter.
Bricks, 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 bricks.
They were ready to go on day 130, so I made myself 4 electric smelters. By the way, all of these higher tier items cost a fair few titanium ingots. For example, these smelters cost 6 each. I knew I wanted the smelters in this area up here, I just wasn't exactly sure how to arrange them, so I spent ages trying to make it feel right. I eventually ended up with a setup like this. I placed a couple of storage chests, crafted 4 advanced batteries, and transferred all my smeltable materials up to this new production area.
3 at a time. Let's go.
Woohoo! Just like that, my concurrent smelting capacity went up from 10 to 12, and I no longer had to burn infinite planks for smelting, just renewable wind energy harnessed into batteries. You are welcome, Mother Nature. I then decided to turn it into an enclosed room, as random smelters on the deck wasn't great for the vibe. I had all the walls up by the time day 131 rolled around, but before I got onto the roof, I swam over to this frosty green dot island. It featured some polar bears, some treasure, some loot, and of course a trading post. I did a round of chores before settling on an idea for the smelting room's roof. I figured some ventilation was in order, so I placed a bunch of support poles and ended up with a design that looks like this. I kept the raft machine ticking along while I dreamt up a plan for how to continue building vertically. I decided I wanted to avoid walls as much as possible, and instead try my best to make the design fairly open, with visibility out to sea as a priority. I placed a bunch of support poles outlining the structure I had in mind, both up here opposite the smelting room and also down next to the cottage.
So I'm thinking like a dining kind of area here, and then just kind of build it up, and I don't know, we'll see what happens.
I needed an enormous amount of scrap to make all the nails for these posts, and I needed even more for the horizontal supports, so when I saw this big island, you better believe I went scrap hunting. And every other material hunting too, but scrap was definitely high on the list. I hit up the land first, where I made a few purchases, dug up some goodies, and caught myself another llama.
Flop neck. Flop neck. Ow! Run! Run, flop neck. We're under attack.
Flopneck is llama number 3. I had originally planned to just stick with 2 of each animal, but now that I knew how good wool was as a trash compactor insert, I was keen to get a bunch more llamas. I spent the night collecting underwater, where I also macheted Shayla the shark, Shiva's most loyal worshipper. I emerged on day 134 with a decent haul of materials. I filled my bag with planks and nails and continued working on the new build. I made a ladder here, placed all the necessary horizontal supports, and placed down flooring to create an entirely new elevated level. It looked a little something like this. I placed some ladders to connect the 3 staggered levels, and then placed the support beams and flooring over this area.
We didn't run out of nails. Good news. Good news.
It felt great to have some genuine verticality appear on my previously very flat raft. By the way, and this really goes without saying, I also did lots of chores, including continuing to make biofuel on these old school biofuel refiners for some reason. As a celebration of verticality, I made a little zipline setup. I cleaned up this underwater zone, and this is a pretty juicy haul for just a little island. Not bad, not bad. Also, look at how my smelting chests are coming along. I made 20 plants using clay and palm leaves, and used these to populate the entranceway to my cottage. I strongly believe more plants is always a top tier design strategy. I then filled my bags with a bunch more decorative stuff and tried my best to turn this area here into a grand piano feature. This included Major Tom perched on the table. I added a rug here, and I think this looks like a pretty decent place to chill out. I then began work on a bathroom area up here, because it's about time I pooped and cleaned myself now that it's been 137 days.
Just poop while admiring the open ocean. Let's go. I love that.
I then bounced down to this area and began work on a dining setup, and I put a flag up here. As you can see, I was moving around a lot working on these areas, and that's because I had no idea what I was doing. I was just trying out random things as inspiration struck, hoping that at some point it'd all come together. I built up some walls around the bathroom because privacy is important.
Alright, so here's the deal. You got privacy ship side, but then you got ocean views. Yeah, you can see out the window while you're pooping. No problem. No problem.
I continued decorating, including an attempt to make a funny sign.
Poop and wipe. Poopin'. Poopin'.
I made a little shelf with some choice toilet time reading material and then added a roof. In the roofing process, I made some adjustments, including moving the window and removing the epic pooping sign because I realized how stupid it was. I also placed down a hammock on which I unintentionally slept through the night. I wasn't too fussed though because it is important to get those 8 hours. With that glorious project complete, for now at least, I said,
I mean, it's something.
I then experimented with some red paint and actually managed to achieve some good results.
Oh. That's kind of cool. Oh, you can do all patterns and stuff. Ah. Haha. I didn't know I could do that. Let's go.
I spent some time relaxing with some friendly raft chores and exploitation of a tiny island's resources, and then some more chores and the exploitation of a different tiny island's natural resources. I also demolished Shamma the shark, Shayla's big toe. That was most relaxing of all. And here's another smelting chest update. As you can see, my hoard of materials grows nicely. I then placed a bunch of lanterns.
New light there, 2 more at the back of this farm, animal farm, a bunch of light up here, 2 up here, 1 here, and then 3 over here. I might take out this middle one. I think it's overkill.
I had tons of plastic piling up, so I trash cubed a bunch, and then crafted more storage chests, which I placed along here. This space was allocated as a dump for ocean floaties, since the first wall of chests was beginning to overflow. Yet another island met the fury of my scrap hook, and I even collected all the flowers from this one, because why not? I then placed a couple of decorative palm trees down, as I figured these would go well to fill space and add some natural vibrance. Another trading post island was on the horizon, so I fished up some fancy fish to sell when I got there. Once there, I caught llama number 4.
Shaggy! I just realized Flopneck's little. Look how small Flopneck is compared to the other 3. Good for you, Flopneck.
Back on the island, I tracked down some treasure while Pumbaa gave me a hard time.
You can't get me. Ow! Never mind, you can.
I collected dirt, climbed about 400 kilometers up this giant mountain, made some choice deals, and then returned to dump the haul I'd gotten from the land before jumping into the sea as day 143 dawned.
Get macheted, you dingus.
That was Shadow the shark, the one who followed Shamma everywhere. I admired the unconvincing positioning of my anchor and then collected the day away. And then something upsetting happened.
I can't kill it fast enough. It's so frustrating. How do you kill those? You must have to just kill them with... Am I dead? What? Whatever. Whatever. I lost my bottle. Since when does it just kill you?
It doesn't. What actually happened was I let myself drown without realizing at all. Though I must give full credit to that fart for distracting me from my need to breathe. As you can tell, I was only mildly frustrated. It's no big deal. But that's why you should never underestimate an underwater fart. The worst part was the loss of my canteen because I had no leather to make a new one. So I grabbed my water bottle and went out to murder some animals. I got revenge on Pumbaa and he provided 3 leather, and then I had a wild goose chase after this goat. So I guess it was more of a wild goat chase.
He yes. He doesn't drop anything? Oh, oh my gosh. Look at this poor innocent goat. I just murdered it for no reason. Well, that's awkward.
So I wasn't able to make that new canteen just yet. I jumped back into the water, this time with a bow and some arrows in case I came across any more prodigious farters. I spent the whole night down there and managed to get some petty revenge by shooting this pufferfish in the face a few times. Rather than drift, I decided to actually head straight for a green dot for once. And on the way there, I replaced a bunch of tools that had been decimated by the unfortunate incident with the flatulent fish. I refilled the biofuel refiners in the engine room too. Once on the island, I found some vault treasure with a painting in it. Very nice. And after hitting up the trading post, I found llama number 5.
This is a fancy looking llama. Is he fancy looking? He looks a bit different. I feel like the two-tone is different. Two-tone the llama herd grows.
I put the painting of the pot of flowers up here, most excellent, and then hunted down a warthog for leather. But killing just a warthog felt a bit off, so I killed Sharvan the shark, Shadow's accountant. I then drank this spicy beverage that increases swim speed, and this helped me zoom around the underwater area, and by my count, the buff lasted 10 minutes. There was also one of these deep divey bits with heaps of goodies, which is always a bonus. When I emerged, I pointed the raft at another green dot island.
This is another frosty Frosty Island. Frosty. I wonder if they have llamas on the Frosty Islands.
There were no llamas on the Frosty Island, just angry bears and a lively marketplace. I made a bunch of shears because I was collecting lots of wool from my 5 llamas, and I then decided it was time to double my honeycomb production. I crafted 5 more hives and a bunch of advanced small crop plots, and made a carbon copy of my existing hive setup, which is finicky business getting all the placements just right, but I got there eventually.
It's good because it fills in the area a bit, like otherwise the area was pretty sparse. It's nice to have something functional chilling there.
I also placed 3 purely decorative flower pots on this side, which I think was a tasteful touch even the greatest designers should aspire to. I crafted a bunch more decorative items and rejigged this space a little. One big change was replacing the lanterns that were here with these string lights. I also set the table and put a big candle thingo in the middle. I put a little cupboard with a sunflower on top over here, some string lights over the kitchen area, and a sitting area next to the warthog.
Pumbaa's hangout corner. You'll love to see it.
I added a couple of plants to this area and then transformed this wall, turning it into a trophy display.
Doofus, Zippy Zap, and Boris.
I then made a most excellent discovery.
Oh. That's kind of cool. I didn't realize I could do this. Just randomly hang a bunch of thingos. Okay, what do we do with this information though?
The answer to that question is put a bunch of danglies over here. I also realized I could stick pot plants straight onto walls, so that was good news too. I made some more large crop plots and placed a couple in this dead space here, and 2 more up near the poop chute as well. While I was admiring the work I'd done zhuzhing up the place, I was struck with another idea.
It's not great privacy. If you're chilling in the tub, would you be satisfied with that privacy with a giant gap between your curtain? To be honest, who cares?
I did some chores, placed another tree up here next to the piano area, got cooking some veggie soup because I was running quite low, and then fished for a bit as I approached this trading post island. Once I got there, I found something unexpected.
Tiki piece? What?
I had no idea I could find these, but I am a big fan.
Yeah, why not? That's pretty cool.
And then I had some trouble catching this llama, mainly because I randomly picked up a black flower while carrying it, which made me drop it, and of course it pranced away, so I had to catch it again.
Alright, you can be called elusive because you gave me a headache.
I then drank another swim speed beverage and headed underwater. This session went through the night and into day 152, and it was a pretty juicy haul. Over 60 scrap and almost 100 seaweed.
It is time to hit up Utopia 63496. 6, 3, 4, 9. Alright, straight ahead apparently. Utopia, they said it wasn't real, but there it is, 2.5 k's away.
On the way there, I did a couple of chores and then found inspiration to build a little bar/chill out zone up here. I went for a leafy vibe and set up some of these tall tables with stools. And while I was working on the interior, I spotted our destination.
That's Utopia, I guess. Doesn't look like it's in the best shape. There's a raft there, I think. Woo! We made it.
As I drifted nearer, I continued playing around with the design.
It's like a raft kind of city built on the remnants of some really tall skyscrapers.
I held off beginning my investigation of the mysterious Utopia because I had a room to finish designing. I got it looking like this, and then I decided to make the ceiling a real dangly heaven.
I guess that's a vibe. If we walk in like this, not bad. You can hang out in here. Alright, yeah, that looks kind of cool. Alright, I better go investigate this island, man.
And so I got my bags organized and headed over. There was a big water tank and it looked like there was something in there for me, so I just needed to raise the water level somehow.
Oh, lots of dirt. We love dirt. Ah! Okay, never mind, not lots of dirt. But look how cool this settlement was.
I came upon this spinny thing, and this seemed like it was part of the puzzle to get the water into the tank. In fact, there were 3 of these spread out around the farm area. There were also some free shovels, which is always a bonus. And I found a water pump, but it required electricity.
I mean, I've got batteries on my boat. Do you want me to bring batteries? So the electricity's coming from over there, it looks like. The big motor. Okay, let us check up. Another shovel, so many shovels. Alright, we got a note.
Deto's Utopia Journal. Super secret. I have my own raft, and it's hooked up to actual wind turbines. If I had even more power, just imagine all the experiments I could run. But now that lunatic Olaf appeared, his cages are already unloaded and now he's promising to help everyone with his army. Olaf Wilkstrom ruined Caravan Town. I will never forgive him. I hope Han and Ruben listen to me. He's not to be trusted.
So it seems like all of our favorites made it to Utopia, but so did the stinky Olaf. That is clearly bad news.
1 harpoon, 1 carbon dioxide canister. Who am I shooting harpoons at?
probably at that giant red X. I also needed a code of some sort to access Deto's room down here, so I had some work to do. I began systematically exploring the rest of the boardwalks. I found a door to one of the skyscrapers that required 2 entrance keys, some vending machine tokens, and this thoroughly chained building that required a master key. The list of things I had to find certainly grew pretty long pretty quickly. I headed over to this area and discovered these crates that I could pick up and move around.
What the? How do I drop this crate? What is this? Ah! It's got me!
These hyenas are no doubt a creation of our good friend Olaf.
They didn't really do much damage to me. It's kind of terrifying fighting them in the dark though. It's like a hyena playing fetch with a bottle.
I checked out the generator looking thingo and it needed an electrical cable. I found my first cable tucked around here, but I couldn't find where to connect it. Obviously the crates were a part of the puzzle, so I piled them up to gain access to the roof of one of the buildings.
Okay, we made it up here. Is that good?
It was indeed good, as I found another electrical cable, as well as a power pole to connect the cables to. There were also 2 zip lines to neighboring buildings, but for some reason I didn't have my zipline tool equipped. My guess is it broke when I got farted on earlier, so as day 155 dawned, I headed back to the raft to craft a new one. When I returned, I ziplined across here, tiptoed across this pole, and connected the first cable.
No. 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 4 hits? Weak. Stop dancing. Stop dancing.
I found some more cables and connected a second across here, a third across here, collected a couple more cables, and finished up connecting the power.
We're electrified. It's gonna start pumping. Yeah, it's pumping water. It's pumping water.
This spinny puzzle was straightforward in concept. Obviously you've got to line up the pipes, but I'll be honest, I was just rotating them willy-nilly and hoping.
Oh, I did it. I did it completely accidentally. Alright, that one's done. Let's go. It's going, it's going. Alright, we follow it. We follow it along. It's undulating. And then we're up to this one.
It was the same again for spinny puzzle number 2.
Oh, we did it. How? Okay, that one was also mostly accidental.
And a repeat yet again for puzzle number 3.
Alright, that worked. Just keep spinning until it works. Okay, it's filling up now.
Inside the tank was a carbon dioxide canister, but I still lacked a harpoon. I also was yet to find any of the keys or codes I needed for the various locked doors. And I had no idea what I was missing, so I wandered around all night like a goose on the loose trying to figure out where I'd gone wrong.
Oh, what? How did I not see this before? Entrance key.
Do not trust Olof Wilkström. When he arrived here, we took his word in good faith. He exploited us at every turn. Now all of us, dissenters, are locked up, which is everyone by my count. To anyone reading this, Olof should be up in the marketplace. Beware of his rabbit beasts. Please, take the master key from him. Set us free. Set Utopia free!
Don't trust Olaf, it's not rocket science, come on guys.
So now I had one entrance key at least, but I still suffered from a distinct lack of harpoon. I continued wandering around, and finally I took a better look at the map on Deto's house.
Oh. Hang on.
Yeah, so as you can see, there are 3 red circles which I totally missed when I looked at this map earlier. Those circles indicated where the parts of Deto's code were buried, so I dug those up and finally accessed Deto's shack. There were a bunch of materials and a most exciting blueprint.
Big backpack, nice.
I also found the harpoon at long last.
But I'm going straight to make a big backpack.
Except I needed 10 wool, and while I was able to collect 6 from my llamas, I still needed 4 more, so my dreams of a bigger backpack were delayed. I took the opportunity to empty my bag and then returned to shoot a harpoon.
Let's go.
Whee!
Boing. Alright. Nice. There's my other entrance key.
I took another zipline down right to the entrance.
Here we go. We're in.
I headed up the elevator and found myself on precarious platforms hugging the side of the skyscrapers, with nets strung up to catch me should I step a foot wrong. I found a pulley system thingo that said requires cogwheel, but it seemed the only option I had was to parkour through this mile-high obstacle course.
What am I doing?
It was a bunch of jumping, crouching, falling, and failing, but I got there eventually. You may notice the sun rose, so that gives you an indication of how long it took me. At the end, I found a hammer and an elevator that required a cogwheel. I headed back to the start and used the hammer to break through this padlock.
Go on, whack it. Whack it with the hammer.
I will only say this once. Leave on your raft. Leave Utopia to me.
It's Olaf.
Or else The forward scouts end with you.
Olaf, you cheeky bugger. I actually came face to face with Olaf.
After all this time following in the wake of Olaf's evil shenanigans, I had finally caught up with the weird bloke. There was a funky scale pulley system puzzle here, and it was just a matter of getting the right amount of weight on there so the cogs stopped at the right level on the other side. Basically, I just added and removed these weights until the maths added up. I grabbed the cogs and headed through to the next area.
Look around! The filthy rafters turned luxury apartments into a scrapyard. Relieving them of the responsibility was the only decent thing I could do for them. I can't believe how ungrateful all of you are.
Olaf, you're a lunatic. I don't know if you know, but you are crazy.
It was more of the same, except there were more levels to work with, so the maths was a little more complicated. But before long, I was moving forward with my cogs.
Simple mathematics.
I headed down and found I'd reconnected with the parkour area, except now I had the cogs I needed to repair the elevator.
Put the cog on here, send that back, and now I gotta do the parkour again. But I'm so bad at the parkour. Parkour!
I did it pretty quickly this time. Clearly I am a parkour prodigy, and I chucked the cog into the elevator and headed up.
Check out the view. It's actually pretty sick.
I then stacked a bunch of crates in what was very obviously the wrong spot. I have no idea what I was thinking, but I worked it out eventually.
Oh, what am I doing? This is where I'm supposed to go.
You had your chance to leave, but you just won't listen! So fine, have it your way. Welcome to Utopia! I could do this all day.
What the heck? He's throwing bombs at me. That's not on. That's rude behavior.
I did my best to avoid Olaf's fireworks as I stacked up crates, all the while enduring his sledging as he bombarded me.
I'm coming for you. Die! Die, Olaf! Electric zipline tool. Warehouse key. Well, that was an exciting battle. Olaf is crazy. I don't know if we've mentioned that before. You can ride up or down zip lines. That's cool. That's very cool.
I headed out and made my way around.
Look how cool this is, man. This is a wonderful design for the last zone.
I opened up the warehouse door and dropped this ladder, which connects to the starting area for ease of access later. And I headed through to chase down Big Bad Olaf. I was forced to drop down into this hyena-infested area while Olaf yelled some nonsense at me. I killed the 3 hyenas, but I had the strange feeling I was being watched.
Look at these creepy eyeballs, man. How many monsters do you have in there? Ah! He's throwing bombs at me again.
More hyenas were released and I foolishly allowed myself to be distracted by them, but eventually I realized that they weren't going to stop coming, so I just needed to focus on stacking crates. But apparently I am an absolute goose when it comes to stacking crates in the correct spot, because for some reason I stacked them here, rather than at the obviously signposted location I was supposed to.
How do I? Oh, I should have been going over there. I'm so stupid, man.
It was quite stressful avoiding bombs and running away from hyenas, so that is my excuse. I bounced back and forth like a silly willy while constantly harangued by the hyenas, but I got there eventually.
One more. Don't do it. Ah! That's terrifying. Stop! Stop! I'm getting chain grabbed. Alright. I think I'm good. Let's just get some health back.
Whew. I headed up these stairs, through this walkway, and came upon a rather disturbing arena.
What is this thing? I don't have the HP for this. Look at this radioactive bear.
I decided I better head back to the raft and restock before taking on the radioactive beast. And this provided an opportunity to collect some more wool and craft myself the big backpack.
Woo! An extra row. Let's go.
I crafted some extra weaponry and made the long climb all the way back up.
Come on then.
A survivor. You see, the weak are singled out. The strong remain. You forward scouts were the same. You build yourselves up from nothing. You keep going until you encounter something stronger. Alpha, in position. Kill!
Goodness gracious me. He's leaving acid.
I kited the Alpha and shot arrows at him, and it worked okay, except for that one time he ate my face. Periodically, Olaf threw food to the big fella, which caused him to become invulnerable for a bit, and prompted special attacks like this one where he chucked stinky rocks at me. The fight raged on, and the floor became increasingly acidic, and eventually I ran out of arrows and switched to my machete. I was forced to use some healing salves too.
Hey, we did it. That was intense. Yeah, boy. Alright, Olaf. You're next, mate. Got a machete with your name on it.
I rode the elevator up to the top level, and it was time to give Olaf a sternly worded reprimand.
There's nothing you can do. Stay away. All of this is
He's-
mine.
Thank you for the master key. And titanium tools. Oh. Oh, let's go. Alright, well, see ya, Olaf. Hang tight. Got him.
I headed back down and made my way to make use of the master key.
It's gonna free all my friends, I think. A cinematic?
When the ocean itself broke civilization, the survivors were left with nothing.
True.
Yet, they persisted. The forward scouts rose
Is
up
Dedo.
from the wreckage, defied our flooded world, and brought back hope. Now Utopia stands free once again thanks to their actions. With this final chance, we can begin the slow and difficult road to recovery. From today on, we are all forward scouts, ready to discover the next step for humanity.
Inspirational. Oh, epic music. Glorious. Nice. Nice, nice, nice. We did it. We did it.
So at last everyone was free, and for my part I had free reign to burgle fruit from the marketplace, so that was nice.
Yeah, give it to me. Give me them fruits.
I can't believe we ended up like that. Listening to Olaf was a mistake, to say the least. I need to get better at reading people.
Agreed,
In hindsight,
Larry.
Yes, Olaf did seem a bit maniacal.
Well, I stole all your fruit, so I guess we're even.
There was a vending machine that sold what appeared to be food danglies, so I bought a bunch, as I'd found heaps of vending machine tokens in my journey through Utopia. I chatted to many of the NPCs and they all basically just admitted they were stupid to trust Olaf, which is a fair assessment of events. There were 2 more vending machines with decorative danglies and plants, so I bought a bunch of those as well, and then ran into my old friends for the first time in the flesh.
Bruno? No way.
I also found a caged Olaf.
Hi, Olaf. I am happy. Thanks for asking.
No one ever listens to me. Maybe they'll listen after this.
Yeah, I did it. I feel you.
This Olaf fellow doesn't seem like the nicest type.
Bruno!
I made space in my bags and bought a few more decorative goodies, ensuring that I bought a few of each item available, and then bounced between Detto and Bruno listening to their voice lines which seemed to never run out. Eventually I got bored of that and decided to leave all the Utopia gooses to their peace. Peace that I earned for them, battling a rabid radioactive monster. You're welcome, you silly nerds. And with that I had completed the story of Raft. Honestly, that was a pretty epic finale, and it seems there is hope this settlement can work towards a prosperous future, especially if they can avoid trusting any future Olafs. But I still had 41 days until the 200-day mark, so that meant plenty of time to tie up loose ends and of course to make my raft as glorious as possible. The first thing I did was figure out a way to make use of my food danglies, and the obvious way to achieve that was to build a structure over my kitchen area.
That's cool. Yeah. Nice. Nice.
I then went to town placing the hanging decorations. My approach was to evenly space them, but place them in no particular order.
Alright, we got danglies everywhere now. Can't go wrong with danglies. There's no denying it. The danglies are top tier.
I added a couple of lanterns too. I decided it would be fitting to honor the fallen hyenas and Alpha with some trophies.
And Olaf's mum. Gotcha. Gotcha. And Olaf's got pride of place out here.
I've run around placing plants everywhere, enhancing some of the existing areas, and I hung up some of the glowy bottle things too. I also decorated the anchor area with some dangling decorations, which I think worked well to add a little spice. I did likewise above the piano hangout zone, and I also added more danglies to the ceiling of the bar area. After that decorative rampage, I returned to some more menial chores, such as crafting a bunch of shears and looking after my animals. This is me collecting honeycomb and running the length of my deck, just so you can get a sense for the vibe on the raft as the sun rose on day 162. Honestly, I was proud of it already. I made some more plants and stuck them here on the wall of the crop farm, and then tended to my animals again. By this point, I rarely bothered putting anything in the recyclers besides wool, so I was doing my best to shear the llamas on the regular. I added some of the glowy bottles to the hanging garden type deal in here, and here's an update on my smelting chests. I added an extra one to accommodate overflowing resources. Very nice. I admired my raft for a bit, and then decided it was time to fire up the engines.
I think we jet towards Tangaroa now, because I have unfinished business there.
Big juicy golf ball, here I come. On the way there, I set up a new animal farm area, because I had ambitions to catch more llamas. This included crafting a bunch more grass plots and a couple of sprinklers. I made a couple more advanced large crop plots and planted more palm trees, and then I arrived at Tangaroa. Firstly, I bought a radio from the vending machine, and I was hoping that vending machine tokens would have respawned so I could collect them and buy some more decorative stuff. Secondly, I had intel from a comment that suggested there was a secret room to be found in one of the elevators.
Is it this lift or is it a different lift?
It was a different lift.
Yeah. This is the soundtrack of my life. Oh, I can get more strawberries. Nice. I think it's this elevator. I swear someone said it was... Oh! There it is. -8, -9, -10. Alright, we're 20 levels below here.
There was a bunch of good loot down here, the most exciting of which was the elevator cassette. Nothing too mind-blowing, but a nice little hidden bonus. Vending machine tokens and all other items had indeed respawned, so I ran around collecting for a while. I bought as many Tangaroa plants as I could, because I love plants. Back on the raft, I placed the radio down here next to the hammock and inserted the EDM cassette I found ages ago. And I placed a bunch of the plants around the place, most notably these hanging pots.
Alright, next loose end, Balboa Island. I got a bear to kill.
This trading post island was on the way, so I stopped there first, collecting some bees, treasure, and choice purchases. I also collected underwater for a little bit. One of the purchases I made on this island was a fridge, and I tried putting it in here as I figured it'd make sense to have easy access to beverages when hanging out up here, but the fridge was too big and ugly, so I got rid of it. Soon enough, I arrived at Balboa Island. The goal was to take down the terrifying mama bear, because the last time I shot like 40 arrows at her and I had no luck. There were two problems though. I didn't really have an improved plan as to how I was going to defeat her, and I got extremely lost.
I came here to fight Mama Bear, but the true enemy is my sense of direction. There she is. I finally found her.
As I said, I really didn't have a plan, so I just started shooting.
Yeah. So about that. Considering that took me like 5 hours to find her, and I'm not gonna be able to find her again, and then I'm just gonna die, I can't be bothered. I'm bailing from trying to kill Mama Bear. You can live. I don't care. I don't care anymore. Let's go to a green island instead.
And there you have it, folks. Definitive proof I am indeed a god tier gamer. I then began work on a structure atop the smelting room, and I didn't really know what this was going to be, I just wanted more verticality. It was indeed vertical, as it became the highest point on the raft. I made a zipline over to it, and this was actually the only way to access up here without doing parkour on top of the sail. And I crafted some large crop plots and lined them up on the smelting room's roof. In the middle tier, I placed tons of plants, and by tons of plants I mean tons of plants, and up the top, 2 nests for seagulls, which meant this random tower did actually have a function, as these nests will yield me some feathers. I also placed a zipline down from the top, and I think this definitely wins the award for the most random addition to my raft, but it looks pretty good, so why not? I continued chipping away at all the necessary chores, and I also made tweaks and additions to raft design whenever inspiration struck. I used up most of my explosive powder to make a bunch of net canisters for llama capturing, and then randomly remembered I had some new researches to unlock. The only tool I made for now was a titanium hook, and I would have made the electric zipline tool, but I was dead out of scrap, as I'd used it all up making nails for the random nest tower I'd just built. I was also low on trading post coins, so I fished up some special fish before heading onto the island I'd arrived at.
Fishing.
Unfortunately, none of my treasure hunting was possible on this island, as I'd already been here. Somehow I navigated back to the island I'd visited before the successful gamer moment on Balboa Island. I did at least sell the fancy fish I'd caught. I also tested out my titanium hook, and it collected stuff quickly and seemed to be quite durable. I drifted day 168 away, getting in the raft zone, where it's just relaxing to stay on top of jobs around the raft. I also began making an enormous amount of veggie soup, because I figured why not make an enormous amount of veggie soup. This was to the extent that I actually used my crop crop farm for the first time in like 100 days as I harvested and replanted a bunch of beets and potatoes. I arrived at an island on which I caught my 7th llama.
Got a dingus, so you can be dongus. Beautiful. And we'll put you here.
This prompted me to move over all my llamas to make shearing simpler. I then spent a night and a day collecting underwater while benefiting from a swim speed buff. I added a few more chests to my storage area.
My storage walls are complete.
And that's 32 chests total, about half of which were already full of decorative items, old batteries, and useful trash from the sea.
Got a few veggie soups flying around now. Not bad, not bad.
I had another sojourn to a big island where I did the usual and was lucky to find llama number 8.
Plurpenstein, depending on your pronunciation. Distinguished Plurpenstein. Man, my raft looks glorious. Am I a design genius?
I hit up another big island featuring some vertical rock face treasure digging. There was no llama on this island, which was cause for considerable outrage, and also this warthog chased me into a cave. I was zooming from green dot to green dot at this point, so the engines were going pretty much constantly, which meant I was refilling the advanced refiners pretty regularly. Fortunately, I had plenty of raw food and animal heads to use, and no shortage of honey either. I crafted a huge amount of rope, collected my rather large buildup of titanium ingots, and finally upgraded my collection nets.
So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Oh dude, these are expensive.
I removed the old raggedy nets and popped down these shiny new ones.
They look really nice. They look crispy and they match the improved flooring. How many more do I need? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 more.
Before making the remaining nets, I decided to stop and look for treasure at this little island, and I was very glad that I did.
What the heck? This safe is ridiculous. It's got a toy robot, a rock cassette, EDM, I've already got EDM, but still, a real self-portrait, a remnant of a mysterious collective. Let's listen to the rock cassette. Cassette collection's looking decent, you know. What's this real self-portrait? That's like handsome Squidward. I feel like he should go here.
I then finished up with the collection nets.
Fully upgraded line of nets. Looking schmick.
These improved nets hold 15 items maximum instead of 10, which is a handy little upgrade, meaning I won't have to empty them quite so often. I was swimming in plastic, so I decided to recycle about 2 chests worth, and then I put up my Screecher trophies.
Bird idiot and bigger bird idiot. Hidden away in the engine room where no one ever has to see their ugly, hideous, stupid heads.
I also spruced up the outside wall of my old production hub with, you guessed it, plants. And I finally remembered to craft an electric zipline tool, and it was predictably fun.
Zhoo, boing. Nice.
And on day 175, I discussed the merits of experimenting with paint.
The other thing I could try, I could do some painting. I don't know what I would paint. I kind of like the raw brown vibe with green as kind of like the secondary color. It's just very natural vibe from all the plants and leaves. And then little accent colors, you know, the red on the flag. I don't know, I like that vibe, so I don't know if I really want to paint.
I caught Wiggles the llama and then availed myself of the island's resources. Oh, and here's a smelting chest update. And when visiting this little island, after what felt like a long drought of shark murder, I killed Shushu the shark, Sharvan's dad. I decided I didn't like the stacked small crop plots, because even though it was efficient, it was annoying. So I spaced them out without any stacking and locked off my crop farm setup. While at it, I harvested and replanted.
Titanium sword.
Yo! Ha! Hoi! Hiya! Hi-yo! I had an uneventful visit to this island, where I weirdly chose not to try out my new sword, and on day 177 I played around with paint for ages. And long story short, I decided I hate it and don't want to use it, except on the odd piece of furniture. I also placed some logs in here, very loggy, and on day 178 I created perhaps the greatest installment yet.
All the playable characters, Bruce, or any number of relatives of Bruce, at the island. And we got, that's actually my character. I think his name's Ruhi, having a fish.
These are the 4 craftable paintings, and I'm sure you agree my little art gallery is quite glorious. To celebrate, I killed Shake It, the shark, Shushu's wife.
Alright, we're whipping out the titanium sword. Oh, that was a quick turn. He got chopped up pretty fast. The first victim of my titanium sword. Let's go see what we can find on this island.
I found treasure, white flowers, a warthog that died in 4 strokes of my titanium blade, vertical trash treasure, and a llama.
You know what rhymes with llama? Obama the llama.
I did nothing but chores on day 179, and full disclosure, this is when I began sleeping through the night, just to speed things along a bit. And to be fair, you can't argue with some Z's on a hammock strung under the stars.
Another one of these doofuses. Why?
I decided I might as well catch this island's goat, as there was space in the goat/dodo enclosure, so why not?
Hornstar. Hornstar. Let's dance. Let's dance. Oh, you die fast when I've got this big old sword.
This particular dancer was named Shaq, son of Shake It, and Shushu. I killed him on the way to catching this dodo chicken weirdo.
Peanut. Peanut is your name. Alright, now I think it's time we head back to Bear Island. Mama Bear must die. To prepare myself for the travails ahead. Some titanium arrows. There we go, 18 titanium arrows. A couple of bows. Helmet, body armor, greaves. Alright, we got the armor. There we go, we look ready.
I also decided I wanted the catfish meal that increases run speed, except I had 0 catfish, so I got to fishing.
Oh, what the? Wait, whoa, what is this? Why is there a flag on this island? Yo, that's a shipwreck. I've never seen this before. Is this like a rare? This must be super rare. I've never seen this before. Whoa, what the heck, man? Not now, you psycho. Got an achievement. Oh, Captain, my Captain. There's a radio in here? Captain's hat as well? Can you get that anywhere else? I don't think you can. And they put up a flag that says help. Well, I don't think you got any help, mate. I'm too little too late from me, I'm sorry. It's just a normal small island otherwise. Can I dig? Oh, yes. Just dug out of this plastic box. It's another tiki piece. Nice.
So yeah, that was an eventful island, very juicy. I googled it while writing this script, and that island has a 2% chance to appear. I placed my second tiki piece atop the first, my radio perched over here, and then continued trying to catch a catfish. And let me tell you, this was a saga.
I'm not catching any catfish. It's very frustrating. Give me catfish. Give me catfish. I've caught like this many fish. I haven't caught a single salmon or catfish, so none of the big fish. Give me catfish. I want to get catfished. Alright, now I've got the fishing hat on. You have to give me catfish, because I'm wearing my fishing hat. There's one catfish. One catfish. There we go, I got 2. That'll do me.
I cooked up the run speed buff food, and when they were ready, I headed out. It did indeed make me run faster, which was wonderful news. I somehow found Mama Bear pretty quick this time, and let me tell you, I really shouldn't have bothered with all my in-game preparation, because none of it could beat what I learned on the Raft wiki. You can actually cheese this entire fight.
These are titanium arrows. She's taken like, I don't know how many. A lot? There's no way I would have been able to kill. Oh, I did it. There's no way I would have been able to kill her without cheese. She took like 40 arrows. That's one way to get it done.
It's just as well I made those catfish meals. The run speed really did come in clutch. I ran around looking for treasure for a bit and managed to find my 3rd tiki piece. And when I returned to the raft, I found a spot to put up my Mama Bear trophy.
Oh, it's big. Mama. Big mama.
I then decided I better increase my animal farm space in order to accommodate the swelling population of llamas. When placing the grass down, I realized there was no reason I couldn't have grass underneath the sprinklers, so I added some, and the double-decker animal area turned out better than I'd hoped. I made sure to add lighting and then did the big animal swapperoonie yet again.
This will be double-decker llama town. Maybe we can try and get a bunch more before the 200 days is up. We got goats and chicken dodo idiots.
At this island, I decided to purchase the remaining hats I hadn't acquired yet. The chef hat, sailor's hat, and silly goofy moustache glasses thingo, which isn't really a hat, but whatever. And I caught a llama.
You shall be the first llama to live up the top. If I can climb the ladder. Therefore, you shall be top bunk bandit. Oh, that doesn't fit. Up high. Guy.
I had an epic battle with 2 warthogs, and I caught a goat.
You can be goat.
I also found this fancy painting while on the island.
See why you're doing a poo, you got a kraken lurking up behind you.
On day 187, I hit up another big island where I caught a dodo idiot and caught it butthead. I found another tiki piece and caught yet another llama and caught it twitch. Not after the streaming platform, but after the regular movements of this fella's ears. And on day 188, I decided to raise my bridge. At present, it was quite low, and therefore its visibility wasn't great, especially now that my raft was no longer vertically challenged. And so I figured go big or go home.
It's so tall, man. I think we do it. I think we roll with it.
Of course, this freed up heaps of space on this lower area, and it meant I could get rid of this random thingo since there was no longer an aerial on it. It also inspired me to tweak the piano area a bit, adding in this wall so it was more distinctly partitioned. I replaced all the captain's essentials up at this lofty height, and as you can see, this new perch had a wonderful view. I set up one aerial on either side with discrete platforms, and expanded the main platform back a bit to make room for the third aerial and a sail.
It's kind of like a spaceship.
I connected a zipline up there and destroyed the ladder, so the only way to access the bridge was via an electric zipline tool. It really did look like a wacky spaceship on stilts, and at this stage I couldn't work out if that was a good thing or a bad thing. One thing I knew for sure though was that all three ziplines descending to the same spot, randomly above the storage chests, was not a great setup. And so, using this little bit of space at the front of the raft, I built a zipline hub of sorts. I connected my three zipline locations to their own separate pole, and this was a much more intuitive and easy to use setup for getting around the raft. I also capitalized on the new structure by adding a little chill out spot in front of it.
It is a bit more of an ordeal to get to my controls, I guess. So much easier to steer and know where I'm going. You get a real feel, like sense of the ship's movement.
I tended to some neglected chores and then made the most of this trading post island. And when I returned, I performed some elite acrobatics.
Yeah, what a maneuver. That's so sick. Zip zip zoo.
And I set sail for Utopia because I figured it deserved one last visit, and I also wanted to buy more danglies from the vending machines. I added 3 plants to this little wall and decided to use this space to place down 3 staggered trees.
Yeah, no, it's tasteful. I think it works. It means it's not too busy up here. It's simple.
I also thought it would be cool to have a couch and fridge here. But once again, the fridge's big ugliness was too powerful to ignore, so I removed it.
I don't know what else to do with this area. Do I need to do anything else? It's just like it's kind of like a power move just to have a couch there for surveying your kingdom.
I decided I didn't like how uniform the palm trees were next to the art gallery, so I chopped some of them down and replaced them with other trees. And I'd arrived at Utopia, so I headed out in search of vending machine tokens and managed to find about 18 before stealing more fruit and fish from their market. I used the tokens to buy a bunch more decorative items too. I returned to the raft and got back to drifting. I placed a bunch of plants, one on either side of the couch and some surrounding the newly planted trees, and I began work on this structure partway up the stilts. I started with a crossbeam featuring symmetrical danglies, then added this palm leaf roofing, and finally a platform. I placed some lighting and a whole bunch of plants on the platform, and I think it looks quite nice.
Yeah, I think that really improves because it's less like 2 giant long sticks now.
I also added some hanging decorations to the double-decker farm area. I continued sprinkling decorations all over the place. Plants, danglies, and lighting. And I decided the plants either side of the couch were too symmetrical, so I replaced one. I even added a plant to the cottage. Lit up at night, it looks pretty good to me. I visited another big island, and this one yielded yet another tiki piece. Check out that tiki tower. And on day 198, I finally fixed up what was most definitely the least impressive section of the raft. This dining area was just a little underwhelming, so I added this little wall with a fireplace setup, some hanging decorations, and a little cupboard. And I think it brought the additional structure to the area that was previously lacking. I also played around with a rug under the table and different color options with paint, but in the end I gave up on the rug and restored the chairs to their default color. I still felt like the area wasn't quite right, but it was certainly much improved, so I left it at that.
I feel like there's one more thing I can do.
This roof was simply too bare and that would not do, so I added some foliage, a palm tree centerpiece, and a bunch of plants, because why not? And on the evening on day 200, I did the rounds, just to bask in the completion of this raft and this series. There's almost too much to list, from the animal farms to the crop farms to the production areas, the kitchen and its danglies to the sitting and chill out areas, the hammock and the bathroom, the cottage and the dining area, the seagull tower and copious plants, complete with an art gallery, and of course plenty to see all the way up here on the bridge.
Time to do some jumpy jumpies. 200 days of raft. Let's go, baby!
And just like that, 200 days of raft were completed. Go watch me defile the dead and create a zombie slave army in the hilarious movie 300 Days of Graveyard Keep.